Hello there, NA amateur aficionados. Welcome back to the Path to Pro Combine. For the first set of the week, we will be continuing our World's Draft reenactments with the compositions from Game 2 of PSG versus VKS. That was, of course, the one game in the best of three that PSG did manage to win, and they managed to do so relatively convincingly. I'm excited to see what this iteration of the battle is going to look like. My name is Crewman. I am joined by Jack for the first set of the day. Jack, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm excited to get to do this matchup specifically because the last cast I did here for Path2Pro was the game one draft from this series. So I'm excited to see how that evolves. I also saw a Hoarder v Crimson matchup, the Array versus Mobility, and Kryra there as well. The last matchup I did, it had a lot of NA's youngest rising stars, and I feel like this one has like a good substitute of another level of those rising stars. Your Five Minis, your Sochis, Shimmer, Rovex, Manui coming in, and then Kryra still cementing those two former Dark Steel junglers going at it. And then the Hoarder versus Crimson matchup is obviously going to be where all eyes are for this game.
Absolutely. Some really fun storylines here to track, regardless of the drafts of actually just the players on the Rift. Going to be really fun to watch. I know Mobility has been somebody that has really impressed so far in this event, somebody that we've really been seeing pop off quite a bit. Yeah, very excited to see the top lane and the jungle matchups as well. But what are your expectations as far as this game? Obviously, we do already know what our drafts are going to look like. I remember when I was watching this game live at Worlds. I was definitely not a fan of VKS's draft here. I just feel like when you have that amazing front line of the Ornn and the Rel, I feel like having Ezreal as your only really consistent damage carry is just like, whereas you don't have the back line to go along with the front line, right? But how do you feel about these drafts overall?
Yeah, I feel like that red side draft indexes a little bit too much into pick potential where you don't actually have as much damage to contend if those fights drag on. Whereas what PSG Talon had and what Team A will have is, funnily enough, pretty much exactly what this lineup chose to draft the last time I did a set where Hoarder was on Rumble. They had the mid laner on Aurora, and it was just about finding early kills, getting cold onto your carries, and dealing an unbelievable amount of damage. And when you have a pick comp and the other team gets ahead, doesn't matter if you find a kill. If you can't eliminate them in like a millisecond, that collapse is going to go through your entire team. I have my eyes in this first game for the red side on mobility because when he was on a champion that had some agency like this Ezreal, I think he does have the carry potential, but he's going to have to execute.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. I think with this draft that Team B are going to be piloting, it is all about the Ezreal, right? In terms of getting that damage done later on into the game. So much of the burden of execution is going to be on Mobility's shoulders. But I feel like that's probably the player that they want it on. Again, he has been really impressive so far. Looks like we're going to be getting into the draft now. So we should be able to move through this pretty quickly, given that everybody does have their assigned champion already. But the other really interesting thing about this game, the way that it played out at Worlds, was Karsa on the Jarvan. This was, I believe, one of the only wins that the Jarvan has managed to pick up at the tournament. And he played an unbelievably aggressive early game. So I'm really interested to see if Hoarder is going to be going for a similar strategy here.
Yeah, it's pretty much just the way this champ must be played right now. Earlier in the year, the whole year has been dominated by bruiser AD junglers who can skirmish early and often. And Jarvan wasn't super high priority because everyone really tunneled in on like the cataclysm value, when in reality, this is a champion who has a incredible CC value at level 2, effective farming and ganking potential, can drop camps to go get kills for his laners. And throughout the year, people really picked up on that. But at this tournament, you're right, there's been a little bit too much passive play, and that led to a very low win rate for the champion. Now, you give him to someone like Karsa, who is a maniac and will go for every gank on repeat, they're going to find value in it. So you have to wait and see if Kryra, who's known to play both ends of that spectrum, can be very aggressive, sometimes overly aggressive, but also can lag behind, can be more passive, looking to clear, looking for those full clears to get into the game. Is he going to be able to get into these lanes with immobile champions like Annie and make the most value of this?
Yeah, I mean, you have, great follow-up engage with Leona. You have a lot of threat to be able to come at people from multiple different angles. And I love your highlight of the fact that we have this immobile Annie in the mid lane as well. Could potentially be a really nice target for them to try to focus, in the early game to try and get themselves a lead in the mid jungle positions. Definitely, I think the general strategy that PSG did decide to go for when they were able to pick up a win with the composition. But we already highlighted the top lane matchup a little bit as well, and there was that early roam from Boal, the VKS top laner, in the game to actually pick up the first blood when Carson was a little bit over aggressive on the Jarvan, and that allowed him to really kind of stabilize that matchup into the Rumble very comfortably. And I think Ornn in general is kind of like a soft counter to the Rumble, right? In the sense that it's just like the Ornn, it's very difficult to bully him out of the lane completely, so you can kind of just farm up and eventually get to a point where you're going to be able to outscale the Rumble and theoretically have a bigger impact in the team fights. So, is that kind of our general expectation for the top lane matchup this time around, or what are your thoughts
Yeah,
there?
I believe that we should see Crimson, who is not, the most effective when he's on these safer island top lane picks, but certainly capable. When playing something like the Ornn or the Scion, the Galio into the Rumble, you want to just kind of get through that first couple waves, get your back off, get yourself some MR. And the reason those champs, like you said, are soft counters is because they can effectively build magic resistant health without it impacting their build path. So then they can come back to lane, they can deal with a lot more damage, and can just passively farm under turret. I think that that has to be the game plan because we're going to see Kryra focus on top a lot. It's really how last game with Hoarder went. Kryra was on the other team, but they played a lot around Hoarder. And I mean, obviously, it makes total sense. Rookie of the year, this guy's incredible, and on the Rumble especially, it's one of his better picks. But you really have to just absorb that pressure if you're Crimson because this is one of the games where I think the early game for Red Side is kind of even. But once you get into the mid game, I really think it's going to be time for Shimmer to start unlocking this game. And the reason I love Pantheon, earlier in the year, people thought he was like an engaged champ. And I'm like, that's crazy. Because if he goes in first, he just dies. But when he is on the map with level 6, every single person on Team A, no matter where they are on the map, has to consider that they are at a numbers disadvantage for every single fight. Because at any moment, Pantheon flies down, you see that Grand Starfall come in, and fight's just over. So I really need to see Shimmer be everywhere on this map.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly why Karsa's really aggressive early game at Worlds on the Jarvan was so impactful, right? Because he was able to put that Pantheon behind, and it made it really difficult for, of course, Desanas in that case to have that threat where he's able to join up with the team and create those numbers advantaged plays. The Pantheon just wasn't as strong as he needed to be to really make that kind of strategy work. So definitely, comes back there as well. And the Pantheon is such an interesting champion for me. Is obviously you mentioned it, he has been so high prio for most of this year. But I do feel like the nerfs hit him a decent amount. And I feel like just in general, the Pantheon is a champion that's very difficult to play outside of the highest levels of competition. I mean, obviously, all the players that we have here are very skilled, and we certainly know that they're more than capable of making this pick work. But I actually feel like the Pantheon is pretty difficult to execute because you need that early game lead. You need to be relatively strong early on in the game, and then you also need to have that coordination where you're looking for those plays on sides and really trying to catch people out in those sorts of situations. So I do feel like there's a little bit more of an execution barrier in that sense on the side of Team B. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I really feel like this jungle matchup in the early game is going to have to be our main focus.
Yeah, and the jungle all year, every meta jungler this year has shared one thing, and that's their AD bruiser type champs. They all have
Mhm.
one unique factor. Like the Pantheon, it's the global. The Wukong, it's the double knockup. For the Jarvan, it's that cage, that long range engage. And for champs like Xin it's the ability to frontline without actually having to build a ton of take because of that crescent guard. When you look at Pantheon, there becomes a point in the game where that global is just not as valuable. You need the Pantheon to already be in the fight when it starts. And that requires that player to be so high execution and good mechanics to pretty much play a champion that only has 3 abilities for the latter half of the game. And I also feel a lot of players struggle with these AD bruiser junglers because you hit like the 20-minute mark, and their damage really starts to fall off, even against some squishier members. And I see a lot of the best players in the world. They'll build, a Sundered Sky, a Black Cleaver, or a Spear of Sojin, or some other 80 Bruiser item, and then they just go full tank. And it's like Frozen Heart, Guardian Angel, like full tank, because they realize that's the shift in their champion's goal. And I hope to see that from these guys if that does end up being the trajectory of the game. But I mean, if Kryra all of a sudden finds himself 3-0 before 10 minutes, yeah, go all in. Get an eclipse on the Jarvan. Go crazy.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. You do have that option if you are having an amazing early game, right? The champions, both of these junglers, the Jarvan and the Pantheon, can be incredibly oppressive from ahead. So we'll have to see if something like that ends up coming out. But here we go, on to the Rift, our first game of the day. We could just get a little bit of a scoreboard switcheroo there, Mr. Producer. That would be amazing. But yeah, looks like we do have Spellbook for both of the supports. That is what our supports at the World Championship did run as well. So pretty cool to see that mirrored here. Actually, do they have to take the same runes? Is that part of the... Oh, crash down from Banana Pudding. Looking for a little bit of action early on, but that is going to mean we able to back away in time.
No, that's a good point. I'm not sure whether or not they're allowed to deviate from the runes selected. I would assume that they would. Oh, and we do have word. Good thing that I just checked this chat. We have a last-minute substitution. Shochi, known for his spell Underado Gaming, is not playing. It is Toasty, so it is going to be Toasty and Phi Mini in the mid lane.
Good note there, Jack. Thank you for that. Yeah, the Annie, of course, running the phase rush. That is the same as well. I have a hunch that maybe they are obligated to take the same runes. Given that just looking at the Leaguepedia here, it does seem like everything is exactly the same. So that would make sense. But we already do see a little bit of a difference in terms of the actual gameplay. So our boy, blanking blue side jungler, he's not Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's Kryra.
Kryra on the Jarvan. So at the World Championship, Karsa went his Wolves straight into an invade on the enemy red, but Kryra here just going for a very casual red buff start into possibly a full clear.
Yeah, and I mean...
Banana Pudding.
That's usually what we've been seeing. We've seen a lot of mirrored jungle starts just because we have had a lot of games where it is... top side on an island for one team, top side is your main carry on the other, and obviously Kryra wants to get up to that top lane, wants to get Hoarder engaged, especially when you see how heavily Crimson is pushing right now.
Yeah, definitely, and perhaps that's part of the thought process for Crimson, is he's suspecting that the Jarvan might be pathing in his direction, so he's trying to get that early push so that the wave bounces, and he can then play safely when the Jarvan is on that top side of the map. Obviously, we did see Team B playing aggressively towards that bot side jungle to get some early information. So they did spot out the fact that Kryra started on that bot side. And now we do see Crimson moving down, getting that ward in the river. So he's going to be able to spot out Kryra if the Jarvan is making a move towards that top lane. Meanwhile, of course, the Pantheon, Shimmer there, pathing towards the opposite side of the map. Looking to potentially secure that bot scuttle, as we got a little bit of a freeze frame here. No.
You're
technical
back.
difficulties, getting those out of the way early on.
Yep. Might be sure early in this series able to do that, as looks like everything going pretty steady. Crimson did back off just a bit, so not going to be in as much danger, and looks like Jarvan recognized that, just went for the crab, and now we could see a bit of a fight over this camp. Also Phi Mini pushing.
Toasty Alex very low, not going to be able to help out right now. Looks like the Pantheon is going to face check the bush, and over the wall comes the Aurora Aegis Assault for the invulnerability, and Shimmer will be able to back away. So Raptor Camp respawns, and Kryra and Phi Mini not willing to stick around to actually go for the camp. Is the teleport back in for Toasty Alex, and now Banana Pudding on the roam, going to find the crash down onto Kryra, who does have to flash back over the wall to get away from that full resource Annie, who just returned to the lane. So it's going to be Team B with that early summoner advantage.
And Crimson taking a lot of damage too under the shirt, but as you mentioned earlier, this is that, as you said, soft counter where there's nothing inherently in the kit that maybe is able to make them strong against this champion, but what they can do is withstand a lot of that damage better than most champions and just kind of sit there, wait out that first or second back as Manui looking for a roam.
Is able to find the Zenith Blade, but the Aurora not ready to follow up on this one. That's just going to be a stun now onto the Leona. As we come back to the mid lane, Minwei will be able to back away from that one. Just loses about half HP. Relatively unsuccessful gank, but hey, at least he zoned the Annie off of a minion or two.
Yeah, and that's been a constant in this Path to Pro that's been quite impressive, is the supports in these matchups, knowing when the roam timers are, making sure that they're impacting the rest of the map. And with a lot of the most meta AD carries currently not really needing a lot of early priority, just wanting to sit and just farm up for a good while, it ends up giving a lot of opportunities for the supports. And the last game I cast, last set I cast for this Path to Pro, Cryogen was able to pick up a player of the game for one of those because of just an incredible recon performance where he was affecting the entire map. So really happy to see that continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Our first dragon of the game going to be a Chemtech. We'll see if either of these aggressive early game junglers is going to be wanting to make a move towards that. I believe the first dragon of the game at in the Worlds game did go to PSG on the blue side. Not 100% sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting pattern that I'm seeing emerged from Cryo. I'll hold on to that.
Here, Shimmer coming down towards this bot lane. Exhaust already coming out onto the Varus, who's getting chunked down extremely low. Does still have the flash, is going to try to use it, but still going to end up going down to the Mystic Shot of mobility. That is going to be Team B on the board with first blood.
Yeah, it looks like potentially they didn't know how overloaded that bottom side was. Not only had Shimmer moved down, but Toasty had also started moving downwards. And you see the vision control on this bottom side of the map. 2 control wards for the red team. Scuttle Crab had been secured, and just able to completely overwhelm the bottom lane of blue side, and that's going to get them not only some kill gold onto the Ezreal, get them accelerated, it also continues that control, but luckily tempo works out to a point where Team B can't actually go and secure that dragon right away. And this is one of the things I want to point out. Cryo, over the course of this Path to Pro, has had a hard time getting these dragon stacks to actually start up.
Oh, the Forge God in the top lane. Crimson looking for the 1v1 Grand Starfall as well. Over the top, and Shimmer is going to be able to pick up Team B's second. Dragon started up now by Team A. Looks like they will be able to get it, but I feel like Team B relatively happy with that trade. A kill on the Pantheon in exchange for a Chemtech Dragon.
Yeah, not the worst thing in the world, especially, like I said, considering the fact that Kryra has struggled throughout the course of this boot camp to secure those dragons, and that was exactly what we talked about in the draft phase. That looked like a skirmish that maybe Rumble could have just ran away from if he landed a slow, landed one of those harpoons, scrap shield for the move speed to get away, could have gotten out, and because there's a Pantheon in the game, it goes from a 1v1 to a 2v1 very quickly.
Yeah, now both teams rotated their bot lanes up towards this top side for the Grubs fight. Team B going to move in, pushes Team A out of the river immediately, but Kryra is able to smite away the first Grub to at least get Team A on the board with the 1. Looks like Team B going to be in control now to secure the other 2, as Kryra just moving back on towards his blue buff. Looks like that will end up being what happens. So basically ends up being that trade of the early neutrals. See, our top laners now have taken up residence in the bottom lane.
Yeah, ends up being a pretty decent outcome for Team B. Obviously, getting majority of those grubs is great, but they would have hoped for maybe more of a fight to break out there. Like we talked about, this is the point in the game where this team comp is really going to be spiking, as Ezreal's going to go a little wide. They want to, I think they're kind of trying to bluff here a little bit because they don't have jungle support on their side, and they don't want to just easily get dove. So a little bit of a show of force, but it looks like they're going to look for it anyway.
Yeah, it's not the biggest minion wave, but potentially an angle here. Exhaust the flash in for the Leona, but the cleanse and the shift away from mobility. But the Flag and Drag is there. The Cataclysm locks him down, and Varus picks up the kill. The 2 turret shots, not quite enough to get that trade back. and a cleanly executed dive from Team A.
Yeah, it does not matter how steep the ramp is on that turret when you play it so clean. And we had a cleanse almost perfectly timed on that Leona flash Q stun, able to reposition, but importantly, Kryra held on to everything, didn't even flag and drag. And so once that cleanse essence shift came through, was able to just get right on top of the Ezreal, nowhere for mobility to go. And also, as you pointed out, went on to Varus, that kill gold. And with this lethality Varus, items come very cheap, so going to be able to get a lot of damage quickly. And those Yumus are going to be very important this game when you're dealing with a Pantheon who has to get somewhat close range to stun you unless you have that ultimate come on your head. But also, Annie is going to become a lot of this team's pick potential pretty soon, or at least their surprise pick potential, because Rel and Pantheon have to just run at you. And it's really difficult for the low range Annie to get right in your face when you just hit Yumus and run away, especially with Cleanse also in case you get tagged by something. So we could see Array become quite a problem here.
Yeah, definitely the case. Yeah, it's pretty scary playing into like the explosive engage that Team B do have access to with this composition, but I like the way that you sort of explained that. It's Team A, they definitely do have the range to be able to play with, as we got a little bit of an attempt in the mid lane. 5mini looking for the 1v1 onto Alex. The E is flashed away from by the Annie. Very nice play from the Aurora. 5mini gets out the Summoner in the 1v1. Pantheon now moving into that mid lane to cover. Will be able to help push out the wave. And Flag and Dragon knows. Kryra just dunks Alex straight into the dirt. Now Shimmer with the Aegis Assault trying to get back underneath the tower. The Pantheon at least will be all right, but Team A now has tied this game up 2-2.
Yeah, the wrongs are righted, but we do have an equalizer coming out.
Yeah, that's going to be a flash away for Crimson as well.
Yeah, good flash expended. You don't want to be giving over that gold. You've done so well to deny the Rumble as much as possible, but in that mid lane, the early skirmish, a wrong was righted. 5mini was almost able to pick up the kill, but didn't have the E cooldown available. As Crimson getting very low here.
The Forge God now is Crimson looking for the 1v1 back to the top lane as the Brittle Proc does come through. A Hoarder on a sliver of health, but does have his jungler here waiting in the wings. He's trying to get the minion wave pushed up. They can go for another dive under this top tier 1. Crimson without the flash has almost no hope of being able to survive this one, and that's going to be Kryra taking up the turret aggro beautifully, and the feet of Warfare going to be going over to Team A.
Yeah, Kryra has just been everywhere. This is an incredibly impressive performance, as it does look like, yeah, Porter's going to move out of the way of that True Shot Barrage. Had to, give it a moment, see if it was going to be online. But all of the members of Team A really clicking here in their ability to coordinate these dives around the top side. And it is an extension of what we saw yesterday, and it's a pattern that is emerging from Kryra as we do see Team B taking advantage of the tempo, seeing the jungler on the top side grab that dragon, get that to 1-1, and we are going to have Hex Gates, which is great if you are Team A. Gets you in position much quicker when you have some of these lower range burst mages like Aurora. Want to be able to get to these fights quickly, also be able to catch people out on side lanes, still get to objectives, so good map for them. But I wanted to quickly mention the series that we cast previously with Kryra. The reason that they had won the first 2 games on these set drafts was just the comms difference on their team compared to the other. And I had asked after the game, I'd love to know who was really that in-game leader, because the coordination was just so clean. And I'm seeing, again, another squad that has Kryra, and exactly the same thing. They're perfectly coordinating these dives. They're cross-mapping. They're able to understand what they should give and what they should fight for. How to, like that earlier Grub fight where he just smites one away, walks out, and just says, give everything else. They're making a ton of really good calls in this game.
They definitely have looked really coordinated, and I do feel like, particularly as far as the early game shot calling is concerned, you do often want that person to be the jungler, right? Because the jungler has, the most zoomed out view of the map in terms of everything that's happening, or laners really need to be focusing more on their individual matchups and that sort of thing. Junglers have a lot more leeway in terms of which sides of the map they want to be playing towards. and just generally paying attention to everything that's happening. So I love that highlight that Kryra really does seem to be able to guide his teams through these early games very consistently. That is really nice to see.
And now as we move into the mid game here, take a look at some item completions.
Shift forward, Varus, Array in trouble, tries to flash away as the shield vault forward for the Pantheon. Array still barely clinging to life. Banana Pudding trying to finish him off, but the Varus will be able to get away underneath the tower, and Banana Pudding is going to get taken down. Equalizer down now, Mobility with another E, going to be able to get off the red carpet. Just the one kill over to Team A, but they are starting to build themselves up a little bit of a lead, 2K at the moment.
This is way too early for a play like that to be happening. We had this premonition in the draft talking about Team B's weakness. You get to a point where your pick comp is nice, but if you can't find those kills and you expend all those cooldowns and get nothing, the collapse is going to be brutal, and we saw that there. Only Rel is able to stick in the backline, and now Rel going for a bit of a flank here, going to decommit from it, but we are still fighting over this Rift Herald, and a lot of cooldowns up and available for Team B now.
Yeah, it could be a big team fight breaking out here as the teams lined up 5 versus 5 in the river. The Smite does go to the Pantheon, has great objective secure with the Q. Call the Forge God connecting onto Hoarder, who does flash away. Will the team fight even happen? I mean, Team B, they already got their prize of the Rift Arrow. They could just back away now if they'd like to, but Banana Pudding still looking. The Rel wants to find an angle here. The Ornn ultimate already on cooldown. And it looks like Team B, they just wanted to get the escape route back towards the mid lane. And we will never get the team fight in the end. Oh, Flag and Drag. Actually, they're going to catch Mobility. The Ezreal does Arcane Shift away. The piercing arrow from Array secures his second of the game.
Array with an incredible snipe there. And I just feel like Team B had to just pull the trigger. You saw them posturing for so long. I understand why they wanted to commit to that so hard. There was no Aurora ult, no Varus ult, no Rumble ult. So you have this moment where you are so advantaged, but they just never pull the trigger, and it would have been risky. Oh, but another dive.
Yeah, that's going to be the Aurora immediately exploded, and that right there is the power of the Pantheon, right? You can engage from so far away, and poor Fi Mini just didn't even know what hit him.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you could do about that. That's one of those just you get chatted by your teammates, play safe. And it's like, I'm under my turret, I don't know what else to do. But I wanted to go back to that other fight. I feel like I see this happen a lot where teams understand we have a great window here, and they're just not willing to commit enough to it. There was a point there where there was an Ornn pillar in that side brush. If Ornn had flashed over the wall, it would have been a 2-person knockup. But that's a lot to a commit. So I understand why there is that hesitation, and that's where communication is so important. You have to have a confident shot caller saying, no, let's go for this right now, or a confident player willing to pull the trigger. And that's why these boot camps are so important. A lot of these guys haven't played with one another. Except Toasty and Shimmer have a little bit of experience with one another, but other than that, it's kind of shaky. So being able to show up on these stages and, you know, seeing Shimmer make these individual plays, still having a focus of the entire map, make that dive happen top lane, that's where you really see players shine in these in-houses.
Let's see if we get a fight over this third dragon. It's still about a 2K gold lead for Team A at the moment, as they do currently have river control. Looking to maintain priority here in the mid lane as well. Do have that Yomu's, of course, done for the Varus. Triforce also done for Mobility. But Team B not willing to brute force their way in to try to contest for this one. They're just going to give over this first Hextech Dragon. Solar Flare over the wall, an opportunistic attempt from Minwi. But the Ezreal just a little bit too slippery.
Yeah, it ends up just being Solar Flare for that dragon, just making absolutely sure that no one is going to be contesting it at all, which, again, understandable when you go 1-1 early, as Crimson looking to blow everything you're trying
in
to
for Toasty Alex. His Shimmer is a little bit outnumbered in the river right now as well, as Hoarder, as no, he's dead. He is just looking for the minion wave. Will be able to secure it before giving the shutdown over to the Ornn and denying the assist to the Annie. So pretty heads up from Hoarder there. Made the best of a very bad situation.
Yeah, and as you see, Shimmer getting very dangerous here. Those chain
Yeah,
punches do
going
land.
back in. True shot barrage over the top. The Pantheon denies the damage, and now the Leona in trouble as the crashdown comes out. Mobility able to get that kill on a Minui, bit the flag and drag over the wall. Spider-Man trades it back onto Shimmer. Now it's the flash away for Banana Pudding staying alive on the Rel. Mobility still trying to get some damage out as Toasty Alex has returned to the top side of the map, but Tibbers comes down. They blow up the Jarvan, and now a Ray forced to flash away to stay alive. Find Mini. Also low. Toasty Alex the flash forward finds the WQ, takes down a Ray, and now it's only 5 Mini left as Mobility. Arcane shifting forward now is going to be able to pick up his third straight Ezreal on a spree, and Team B take the team fight.
That was an absolutely incredible skirmish. Both sides having great performances. It does end with a big advantage for Team B, but at the start there, Shimmer, very confident in the Sundered Sky healing, decides to go back in. They do find a pretty good fight, but the arrival of Kryra, so patient to not want to miss any of those key abilities. And then after that good play, when you see all these good plays, the initial, like, the take everyone has is like, oh, someone misplayed, or like, oh, there's only one good play that came out of this. But so many important plays. The most important, Toasty's appearance at the end there, the flash forward to get in range to stun, but not too close for Aurora to blow them up. So well played. Toasty's arrival really making the most of Annie's playmaking.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we've been talking about how Kryra has been very active in this game so far, but Toasty as well. Oh, we got another play coming out. Grand Starfall looking for the Leona once again. The Solar Flare to buy a little bit of time. That is not going to be enough to get the Leona out to safety. A lot of return damage, though, onto Banana Pudding as Mini finds the combo over the wall. Otacon alive right now. Team B wondering if they have enough positional advantage to actually look for this one. It's going to take them a while, though, and Team A, they do have multiple members in the area. Kryra going to find Crimson over the wall, the Hex Gate to get Mini involved as well. And now the teleport coming in from the Rumble. Team A, they want the 4v5 call. The Forge God, though, coming out, doesn't find the knock-up. Crimson just barely wide on that Ornn ultimate. But now Team A, it looks like they will be able to retreat. They've successfully pulled Team B off of the objective.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be teleport in exchange for getting them off of that Otacon. So it's a trade you're just going to have to ask Team A, are they willing to make that? Looks like yes, because they committed to it. Everyone did get out, so don't lose too much there. I really do think if they had had better positioning, having Varus with the team, they could have maybe made a turn on the other side of that red wall in the topside jungle there. But without Varus, you're losing out on so much of your damage. 2 completed items, almost fully stacked on that tier. So you want to just make sure you get out. That's the first priority. And now we just kind of go back into this holding pattern. Dragon not up yet. Still quite a ways onto that. Otacon, the only standing objective on the map. We still have minutes until Baron spawns. So going to just be about reestablishing vision control around this dragon, as they are going to go look for a pick here.
Yeah, knock up on a Banana Pudding, but the Rel could crash away at any time. Ooh, took an piercing arrow there. That's a lot of HP off of the Rel, but should have enough time to go back to base, refill the HP bar. Less than a minute, though, on the Dragon Spawn. It's looking like Team A are going to have control of the area once again. If they can get this next one, they're going to be up to Hextech Soul Point. That would put them in a really good position in this game.
Yeah, especially against a team comp like Team B that is so pick reliant. You really don't want the other team to force fights on their terms. You want to force fights that come out of nowhere, that catch your opponent off guard when you have champs like Pantheon, like Annie, like Rel. So having to go contest a Dragon Soul is going to be putting you at a disadvantage. And we do see some very important breakpoints come through. Black Cleaver onto Pantheon. Ezreal does have that 2-item with the Muramana fully stacked up. 2 items completed for Ornn, and those ornaments are going to start coming through at this point. But a key itemization to point out, one of the biggest nerfs that have come through recently was actually a buff to enchanter support items, made it less likely these champs like Rel go for those tank support items, meaning they're just less tanky in general.
Yeah, the fight breaking out now. Shield ball forward onto a Ray, but the Varus is going to be able to back away for now. The crash down, decent onto 2, but it's not the carries. It's only the frontliners, and the Rel immediately going to get blown up in response, and now deep into the backline goes Kryra, finds the Cataclysm on a Shimmer, and the flag and drag. He assassinates Mobility in the back. backline. The Jarvan will eventually be taken down, but I think he's done all that he needs to do as Hoarder is going to cook up those last couple of members of Team B, and Team A walk away with a 5-for-1 team fight and Soul Point on top.
Ryra showing the value of Sundered Sky there with those incredible knockups and the massive amount of healing you get. And we're just seeing in real time the fall off of this composition where you no longer have the benefit of starting fights out of nowhere with your global, because everyone is going to be grouping on these waves, on these objectives, because they want to start and continue stacking. So you are forced to just flash Pantheon stun your way into a fight, but as soon as they're able to get enough space, and all of a sudden, once again, Rel is the only champion within range to stun anyone, it just becomes an overwhelming amount of damage for Team A, and they completely take over.
Absolutely, yeah. And as far as the end of the fight is concerned, I feel like that was equal parts Kryra with the amazing target selection. Oh, another fight breaking out. Minwi going in with the Zenith Blade. Banana Pudding should be all right here, though. Just crashes back over the wall. But yeah, great selection, target selection from Kryra. But also, I feel like that really nicely highlights kind of the failure of the draft for Team B. How there's so much pressure on this Ezreal, and Team A easily able to identify they just needed to take out mobility, and the team fight is going to be so easy from there. Now Team B taking some space in the enemy jungle, looking for some control around this top side of the map. They're going to catch Mini in the jungle there, as the Aurora is going to have to get away, but immediately turns it back around. Two members of Team B already in the dirt. Toasty Alex here getting cooked off on the side. Mobility on the Ezreal. Can he find a miracle in this team fight? His entire team is already down. Team A just run them over, shifts away from the flag and drag. The Ezreal still trying to survive, does manage to get the blast cone away from Kryra. And Hoarder, maybe a little bit too aggressive there in the jungle, does have to burn the flash. True Shot Barrage, not gonna land for mobility. Team A, another convincing team, but it looks like they're gonna get the Baron here as well.
Oh, mobility can land a lot of pot shots right now in that pit if Varus does not start turning. Array has got to keep this Ezreal out of the pit.
Yeah, definitely some low health bars, but mobility has to be a little bit careful as well. There's one piercing arrow going to land for Array, and a hail of arrows as well. That is going to push the Prodigal Explorer back, and that is going to be Baron secured now for Team A. They are really starting to run away with this one, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, that fight right there, once again, I mean, they're making us look like absolute prophets right now, because we were talking in the draft, you have this pick comp, if you do not secure the kill quickly, the collapse is going to lose you the fight. They find Mini and Manui, great catch onto both of them. They both get CC'd and can't put out as much damage, but then the Between Worlds comes down, the Rumble comes into the fight, and it's just way too much damage for you to contend with. And it's just, that's how every fight's gonna go unless they can find some isolated picks. I know it's only 15-11 in terms of the kill score, but the 5k gold lead, and you have this lethality Varus on 3 items. You're starting to see, once Guardian Angel comes through on Kryra, this Jarvan is going to be unstoppable. 10 stack Medjais on Rumble, so it's not just the 5k gold lead. There's a lot on top of it that's not shown there, and Rovex, to their credit, has continuously tried to find angles with this Rel, and now they're going to have to do an incredible job as
Equalizer. God coming out. The Equalizer is really nice, as you highlight, but the Smite on the Otacon is good from Kryra. And that is going to be Team B not able to get involved. Minwi, though, is very low on the Leona. True Shot Barrage is going to take down the Team A support. Now Grand Starfall over the top is Team B, looking for the desperation team fight, but nobody can follow up on the Pantheon just yet. Cataclysm comes down. Shimmer goes down with him, and now that's going to be Crimson gonna get cooked as the damage comes through from Team A. All the health bars just explode. It's a triple kill for that NACL MVP. Hoarder on the Rumble, 8-2-5, and Team A overall just so much damage, decimating yet another team fight.
I mean, there's a reason that this guy's an award winner, doing so well. I had said 10 stack Medjais, that quickly became a 24 stack Medjais, and they had some decent looks in there, got some low health targets, and they're able to split up the fight by Shimmer diving in, but they're not able to reconnect. Mobility can't find access into the fight, and once again, they just get shredded. And if you thought that looked bad, we have the finished Guardian Angel, so Kryra's not dying anymore. Seeker's Arm Guard for Phi Mini. You've got Void Staff on Hoarder, but looks like we have Manui caught out.
Yeah, that's going to be the flash expended from Shimmer to deny the Blast Cone escape. And the Leona is so tanky, she's just going to live anyway. And now all of Team A going to be joining the party. The Piercing Arrow almost takes down the Pantheon. In comes Kryra. Another nice Cataclysm. They finish off the Rel once again. And look at those low health bars on both Mobility and Shimmer. They're going to be forced to go back to the fountain with 10 seconds until the Hex Tech Soul. But honestly, Team A, they might not even need it. They've got a 5v4 right now. The Baron has fallen off, though, so not the easiest siege with this composition. Looks like they will at least look to break this mid inhibitor tower. Call the Forge God going to come out from Crimson, but the CC comes out from Minwei, denies the reactivation on the Ram. And now Toasty Alex trying to run, but another Harpoon connects for Hoarder. The flash away for the Ant. He gets the stun, but the Rumble is just too big. Takes down another one. That Medjix is now maxed out, Jack. And I think Team A looking for the end right here.
Yeah, it's just way too much damage. You're seeing the type of execution that we would have needed to see out of Team A. The quick decision-making, just diving the Nexus.
Yeah, the health bar is just exploding once again there, one more time, as there's some style points as Array flashes in to land a piercing arrow and secure that last kill. 26-13, Team A able to make good on the draft that did win at Worlds as well. And they had a very nice performance here across the board in that first game.
Yeah, very, very well played for the first game of this set. And you see these highest damage scores practically tied between Array and Hoarder, both of them playing so well. Especially Array, seemed like there was a lot of movement around that bottom side and able to keep their cool against a team comp that's got, the Pantheon that's going to be targeting you, the Annie, the Rel, able to always stay at a safe range. And we did see that early mid fight where they were the target, and it was the first of many team fights where they did initially get onto a carry, but not able to stick to them because of the quick reactions, the cleanses coming through. And once Team A got ahead, they never really let go.
Yeah, just like we saw at Worlds, so credit to them being able to pilot this composition in a similar manner. Team B, I think they did have the right idea, right? We did see multiple times from Shimmer trying to make those side lane plays with the Pantheon, trying to pick people off, those isolated members on Team A, but in the end, just not quite enough. The team fights later on were too difficult to play. They just got out damaged by what Team A had here on this blue side. So I believe, are the sides going to be the same now? Do you know? So like Team B is going to move over to blue side now with that same blue side draft. That's how it works?
Yes,
Okay,
so
cool.
now we're going to see Team B play the other draft and vice versa for Team A. So that's why there is, it's a bit extended, but we are going to have a longer break here because we have coaches on both sides who are going to be able to help them out and look over this game. I want to just double check to see, because we have some pretty important coaches. For Team B, it is Think Card, who was with can't remember the LTA South team, but they were at
Furia, I
MSI.
believe.
Furia at MSI had a very good performance, very impressive team, and it is Ido who is the head coach of Disguised for the end of this year. They are back in the LCS, so very impressive, two very skilled head coaches that are going to be able to help these guys out during the break.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a coach for either side, what do you think are going to be your main points of advice? What would your direction be with the break here?
I think if I'm Team A's coach, it's going to just be what you guys did this game. You've got to do it twice as fast next game because you're going to have a much shorter timer. You're not going to be able to just kind of wait out and let Aurora get some items, let Varus get some items. You have to go fast, and you have to take advantage of the Pantheon's window to really scale up. And if I'm Team A, I'm going to say, yeah, you got to play a little bit better execution in the fight. You can't get as split up, but you don't have to be as reckless this game because they have a bit of a safer, more scale-oriented comp. They don't have to play as aggressive. And we saw this last set I cast where they took some of the advice from that game and applied it incorrectly because the comp is just so drastically different. So they have
Right.
to, both coaches have to emphasize this is a completely different comp now.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see if we do end up just getting kind of like the same game played out the third time. That'd be really interesting. I mean, it really would be a pretty dire indictment, I think, of that red side draft if it does end up playing out the exact same way once again. But definitely some strong performances from Team A in that first game. So maybe they will be the ones to make that red side draft work. You have any final thoughts on what we just watched, Jack?
No, only thing I think Kryra, in my opinion, deserved player of the game for that one. Everywhere on the map, kept those team fights alive. Just not the most damage, not the most kills, but really was the connecting thread throughout the course of that game.
Yeah, honorable mention to Hoarder on the Rumble. I thought he played out the team fights very nicely with some really, really good equalizers. But very happy to align with you there, Jack, on the Kryra POG vote. Jarvan played it out beautifully. And that's going to do it for our first game of the set, guys. And of course, as my co-caster already mentioned, it is going to be a little bit of an extended break while those coaches do take some time to talk to their teams. We'll be back in probably about 5 to 10 minutes for that game number 2. See you there.
The unknown terror that stood alone.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are about to get underway with game number 2 of the set. As previously mentioned, Team B now going to be moving over to that blue side of Team A. Going to be trying out that draft that is now 0-2 on official broadcasts of various natures. See what they're going to be able to get done with it. See if they are going to be the ones to be able to make it work. And it's going to be a lot of pressure on Cryro once again.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. This game, it's like as well as they played in game one, they have to play even better because Jarvan's usefulness remains for the entirety of the game, whereas Pantheon, you start to see him kind of teeter off. And I was encouraged not only by obviously the level of play, but the build path where he recognized like I'm no longer really needed for damage. I need to be able to go in and stay relevant. So getting that Guardian Angel third item, even though the game was well out of hand by that point, really gave me a lot of confidence. And I also was really impressed by Phi Mini. Their ability
Mhm.
to find angles, to get as much damage out as possible. Obviously, this is going to be a very different role. You are pretty much a pure facilitator on this Annie pick. You want to be finding those massive Tibber engages. You want to be catching people off guard. And that's one of the powers of Annie is when you see a Pantheon, you know they're looking for an engage. When you see a Rel, you know that they're looking for that crash down and that Magnet Storm. But Annie is a bit more like unassuming. You think that they're just looking to get close enough to deal some damage, and all of a sudden, Flash Tibbers, 3 or 4 members are stunned. All of a sudden, those former abilities I mentioned are able to be used as follow up and to keep you CC'd. It can be very, very difficult to fight against. So, I want to see how Phi Mini transitions from a damage output to a pure facilitator.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if the Annie, we've talked a lot already about how the Pantheon really wants to be looking for these early plays, right? And find those early angles to try to snowball the game. If the Annie can get involved as well, that's really, I think, when this red side draft can be really threatening. So we'll have to see if that does end up coming through from Phi Mini. But it's going to be a very different look this game for Hoarder as well, right? On the Rumble last time around, I feel like generally speaking, this is a top laner that thrives on more carry-oriented picks when he can have that sort of outsized impact in terms of the damage charts and really getting some work done there. But on the Ornn this time around, it's definitely a little bit of a different job that he's going to have as opposed to that game number 1.
Yeah, not going to be able to rely on that heavy damage output and also the scaling nature of the champion. You are going to have decent damage output just because obviously you have a champion like Ornn, you have a surprising amount of output. But
Yeah.
this is a guy that, as you mentioned, when I think of Hoarder, I think of champions like Jax, I think of Olaf, I think of these top laners who just constantly are skirmishing, looking for fights, Ambessa even, wanting to constantly be trading. And in this matchup, if you do that early, you're gonna throw away what makes Ornn powerful in this lane, the ability to withstand
Right.
a lot of trading. So I want to see some level of awareness of that from Hoarder. This is actually like the perfect follow-up to the last series these two had because it was a very identical type of matchup. It was Mbessa versus Sion. So I need to see Hoarder play the way they did on the Sion, where they're just on an island constantly. They're never overextending, and they're always looking to group for the fight. Hoarder did lose on the Sion, but was the most valuable on that losing team, was responsible for the fights where they were able to claw back a little bit, and was also putting a lot of pressure down on the side lanes.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, I did feel like Crimson had a pretty solid game last game on the Ornn as well. Obviously, wasn't quite enough, but I think particularly the laning phase for Crimson was really solid. So I'm excited to see with him on the carry champion now, maybe Crimson will be able to pop off and do those similar numbers that we did see from Hoarder last game. Does have, of course, the hot pot combo with the Jarvan there that we all know and love. So we'll see if Crimson and Shimmer are going to be able to link up to have those similar levels of success.
Yeah, I mean, this composition just has so many options. Whether it's a chain of corruption into a between worlds or a cataclysm into a solar
Yeah.
flare or an equalizer into a cataclysm. I mean, it's just so many synergized abilities that go together. And when it comes to the side of Team B, or I guess Team A, it's gonna have to be a coordinated effort where you're either starting the fight off with that Grand Starfall or with an anti-stun, because you want to have access to the Magma Storm, to the Call of the Forge God, to continue the fight and to continue putting down that CC, because if you do not continuously CC multiple members of Blue Side, you have Rumble, you have Aurora, you have Varus. Any one of those three champions not CC'd is going to put down so much damage you cannot contend with. And that requires a ton of execution and a ton of communication. So that adds even more onto Kryra. When we were talking about this matchup, we're talking about how difficult it's going to be now. He also has to worry about the comms. So want to see how he handles that pressure. Will help that their big damage output is Array, who I think of Ezreal when I think of Array, and played very well on the Varus last time. So I want to see that continue as well.
Definitely, definitely. I feel like one of the big moments that really stuck out to us in that last game was the Herald fight that never actually happened, right? Where team I remember you talking about this, where Team B, they got the objective and they were kind of in position where they could look for an engagement, but then they just were never really able to pull the trigger, never really found the angle that they were looking for. So now, that's it kind of, I think, highlights exactly what you're talking about, where Team A, they need to be coordinated. They need to be looking for these big plays. And, like we mentioned earlier as well, they kind of need to be looking to snowball this game. Otherwise, we've seen it a couple of times now. The draft on blue side that Team B is going to be piloting this time around just eventually gets to a point where they have such a ridiculous amount of damage that is going to be so hard for this red side draft to play out the team fights later on.
Yeah, it's extremely high risk where when you get to those fights like that Herald fight, you have to be thinking, I need to use my flash, I need to use all of my abilities, and even if it's to get a kill, it's going to be worth it because that's how we have to play. That's why these drafts, I mean, some people will flat out call them bad, but I think every draft will still have some strengths. So you have to just be willing to risk it all. And the reward is that you can end the game very quickly. If you're consistently Grand Star falling a side lane, pushing it in, getting turret after turret, it will snowball to the point where there's just no amount of gold or time that's going to allow the other team in if the red side draft keeps playing well. But the risk is still there. If you do not find those consistent kills on those timers, you're just going to get outscaled. And I think it's
Mhm.
ironic that the coach of VKS who drafted the CL was started the tournament off extremely critical of other regions and other teams, only to produce a very poor record and some very head scratching drafts. So I'll say that much. But when you have a draft like this, I mean, it does give the players the opportunity to show off.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. And Team A, they looked good last game. Maybe they'll be able to ride that momentum through here into game number two. But I'm also very curious, Jack, about what Shimmer is going to be looking for in this early game on the Jarvan. I was honestly a little bit disappointed that Kryra didn't go for anything super aggressive early on the first clear with the Jarvan on blue side. But obviously, it ended up working out fine for him because the draft was eventually able to get into that really powerful position, regardless of the Jarvan not finding that super early impact. But I think that would be pretty cool to see from Shimmer if he actually wanted to try to find that very very early angle to create some early action for us. Do you think it's likely, or are you more expecting a similar kind of approach as what we saw last game, where he's just looking for a full clear, play towards top side, make sure your rumble is okay, and just kind of take the game from there?
I think it's more likely than last game just because of the play style of the mid laners, actually. So I think it has
Mm.
less to do with the jungle matchup because Mini on the Aurora was a lot more passive. Wanted to just get those items, play out the lane phase, not let the Annie get any sort of advantages, and just control the Annie's wave state, not let her push in, roam around the map. Whereas Toasty is a much more aggressive player. And so if Toasty finds an angle and calls out, hey, like I have a kill spot here. Shimmer could be able to move down. No mobility available on that Annie. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for Toasty to blow the flash on their own. I mean, we saw 5 Mini almost do it in the first game. Some very early aggression. A dive was successful on the Annie early on in that game. So with Toasty's aggressive play style, I think it could be available there. And then also in that mid lane, this matchup between Crimson and Hoarder, these guys, two of the best and brightest in NA, they're going to be fighting, they're going to be jockeying for position, even when it might not be the most advantageous option, they're going to still be looking to try and find every advantage possible. So if Shimmer keeps their eyes peeled, top lane might be an option as well.
Right. Well, I imagine we're going to be getting into this first game, or second game rather, momentarily. Haven't talked about the bot lanes in a while. Mobility obviously on the Varus this time around. I imagine it will just be that lethality Varus coming through once again. Makes it much easier to play out the fights if you can play from that longer range. You don't have to worry as much about the Annie engage, the Pantheon engage, the Ornn ultimate. A little bit easier to avoid when you can just play for those long range Qs. So it would make sense there. I'm very curious to see about the supports. Obviously both the Leona and the Rel we saw be somewhat active, I want to say, in that previous game, in the early minutes, looking for those sorts of roams, looking for those opportunities across the map. But yeah, do you think we're gonna see anything really aggressive from either of our supports early on in this game?
I think we're probably going to be seeing a lot of the same out of the support role at least because we had last cast it was Cryogen and Mixture, so two of like the top young supports in the region, and now we have got Rovex and Manui, both very skilled, and I feel like a very even matchup. These are two players who've been in the scene for quite some time. They have a lot of experience, and Manui, multiple roles played in professional play. And it really seemed like last game they were constantly matched. They were always in the same lane. They were always in the roam timers at the exact same time. So it feels like they have a very similar idea of how to play out these games. And mobility and array, everything I've seen from last matchup and this one is both of them are extremely reliable. They are going to play at a base level always. But when mobility has playmaking, they can really show up. And even on the Ezreal, they had a lot of moments where they were making plays, where they were going and finding angles. And now mobility is on a champion whose playmaking is pretty much like flash alt. And other than that, you're just having to hit your skill shots, make the most of your auto attacks if you go lethality, which most likely they will. Whereas Array now has that playmaking ability. The Ezreal, you can get so much movement going. You can fire so many of those mystic shots out. And before a fight even starts, you have your opponent on the back foot. So I want to see if Array is going to take total advantage of that, or if they're going to try and play around that pick potential, be a bit more cautious. And the Rel Ezreal combo is all right. It's not fantastic. It's not Varus Leona. Varus Leona is devastating. It's so much damage you're able to put out, so much CC, so much synergy, whereas Ezreal Rel are kind of just like hanging out around each other. So I think this would be the perfect game for Manui to show off and get around the map and just leave the Ezreal on their lonesome bot lane to just pick up waves.
I did just notice it looks like the lobby did crash for the players, so going to be a couple more minutes before we are actually able to get into this game here, Jack. But yeah, I think. Oh, what was that production? Sorry. 2 more minutes, yeah. So not too much longer. We're gonna have to wait. But yeah, I like the highlight on Array, how he definitely is a playmaker, was doing a lot of damage last game on the lethality Varus, and was clearly feeling himself towards the end there as well, where he was looking for the flash forward to get that last kill with the long range Q. So hopefully he's going to be able to carry that momentum into this second game on the Ezreal this time around. And, as we've continued to discuss these drafts, Jack, earlier at the beginning of the stream, I was kind of convinced that, this red side draft was all about the Ezreal being able to do most of the heavy lifting and kind of, do the majority of the damage in the team fights later on. But as we've seen these drafts get played out a couple of times and we've had the opportunity to discuss them a little bit more, I've kind of changed my position a little bit. It definitely does feel more like the red side draft has a lot of that burden to snowball the early mid game, right? It's a little bit ironic because they also have an Ornn who's like famously wants to scale towards the later stages. But it really feels like this red side draft is a lot more about the Pantheon and the Annie needing to snowball, right? If they don't snowball, then those champions just don't offer enough later on. And so the Ezreal's job is really more of like additional damage, like a follow-up damage, as opposed to like doing consistent damage in team fights later on. That's just never really going to work out. So I'm curious to see if Array is going to be able to, join up basically with the rest of the team. I feel like that is sort of the tightrope that AD carries often have to walk, right? Is, you have very expensive items, so you're really looking to farm up as much as possible. But then there are those key moments where you need to be with the team if they are looking for, a really critical pick or an objective or something like this, right? So I'll be interested to
Yeah.
see if Array is going to be looking for more of those roaming opportunities in this game.
Yeah, and especially on the Ezreal, talking about expensive items even more because Ezreal's
Hmm.
getting that Triforce and then getting a Muramana, having to stack it all the way up. So that's money and time being invested. And then you finally get past that and your items kind of gets split from there. You're maybe going for a Spear of Sojin, maybe going for some lethality in there. Bloodthirster was what mobility ended up going for later in that game. So it does get expensive. And Array's job on this team comp is he's the only champion whose sole focus, like you said, is damage. Everyone else has a ton of things they have to worry about finding those picks, staying alive, managing their positioning to not take too much damage. Array just has to worry about putting out damage. And we are on to the Rift finally. And I really think you hit the nail on the head when you're talking about the snowballing being so necessary. It in these later team fights, if that doesn't happen, where we saw last game, you can't just rock up 5-man to the mid lane and
Nope.
flash engage. It just doesn't work like that. You have to try and find picks, find numbers advantages so you don't go into the fights just 5v5.
Well, we can see Team A looking for some early aggressiveness again here, similar to what we saw from Team B in the previous games. Team A now are trying to get that information. They are going to be able to drop a ward on that enemy red buff. So we're going to have some information as Kryra is still sticking around here. Going to slowed up by the Harpoon, who does have his own teammates in the area. So Team B not going to over-aggress here at level 1. And it looks like we're going to get a topside start from both junglers this time around.
Yep, that will be different. Every single game so far that I have cast has been mirrored jungle pathing, so this will be an interesting opportunity. This is also the rare site where we're seeing information to no information swap from the junglers. What I mean by that is red side knows that Jarvan is starting topside because they have a ward on the red buff. They also saw the Jarvan go back up there, but Team B does not know for sure if Kryra started topside. They don't have any explicit vision. They don't know if they could have crossed onto that bot side, as we see a lot of skirmishing early in this bottom lane.
Yeah, Array in particular taking a lot of damage on that Ezreal, already having to go through the health potion. A lot of trading here in mid as well, as both the Aurora and the Annie already down to about 50%. Interesting for our junglers that neither one is going for the accelerated full clear. Both were starting on their respective buffs. So that is a promising sign for me that they are going to be looking for some early action and not just looking to cycle the camps as rapidly as possible.
Yep, and as you see top lane, once again, just pushed all the way in, and it doesn't look like Shimmer wants to prioritize a super early fight opportunity with Ornn pushing in very fast. We could have seen a level 2 roam up here, but gonna allow Crimson to just play this weak side for a moment.
The Pantheon is moving into that bot side jungle, and now we can see the bot lane on the move as well. They're looking to catch out Shimmer during his clear, but able to secure the red buff in time is the Jarvan. So he's up to 5 camps and has a little bit of a lead now over Kryra's Pantheon. It looks like they're going to at least look to take away the Krugs, potentially flash stun onto the Jarvan. I think the combo was canceled, and that's going to be the first blood over to the Ezreal. Team A on the board early.
So one of two things Whoa.
Quarter in trouble, flashes away. Crimson with the overheat. He doesn't have any abilities just yet, but now he gets the harpoon back off, cool down the potion running. Oh, the Ornn! He turns it around! Hoarder, the mage assassin bruiser tank, gets it done, and it's Team A up 2-0.
Flame Spitter, he had everything except for Flame Spitter available after the overheat. That's brutal for Crimson, and now Mini in trouble too. Able to get out of that though, but that fight in the bottom side jungle, I don't know what's true, but I know what's more likely. Either they watched our post-game recap or ThinkCard's a very good coach. I think it's more likely that ThinkCard is a very, very good coach because they did exactly what we said they had to do. They had to be hyper aggressive, utilize your flashes. They just run into Shimmer's jungle as a 3-man, and 2 of them flash on top of his head so that they can kill him. They know that that's how they have to win this game, is by being extremely aggressive early game, and now it looks like Team B is trying to respond.
Fly and drag onto Mini. The Annie does get the stun only onto the Jarvan, has to flash away from the Zenith Blade. With a flash engage attempt there from Banana Pudding. So Mini able to get away, does have to burn the flash, so now we really need to be looking out for those potential repeat ganks from the J4.
Yeah, that might look bad for Team B because you didn't end up getting the kill or getting on top of Annie, but that is a pretty big win to get the flash and teleport out of this immobile champion. Being able to put them at risk in the mid lane for the next 5 minutes is a pretty good win, especially when we're talking about how aggressive Team A have to be when you don't have that summoner available, when one of your members is forced to play more passively for the next few minutes. That's going to be important. And Mini has really impressed me this series, and so far on this game, the Annie, the reactions have been fast, the play has been smart, and now Hoarder in trouble again.
Hoarder? Yeah, no flashes on either top laner. It looks like the Ornn charge will be enough to get him away, as we have a little bit of an engage down here in the bot lane as well, but some much higher health bars. They're going to be all right for now. Toastiala's going to cross the veil momentarily. But the Aurora down to about 200 HP. Alex going to have to be really careful there in mid. We'll be able to catch the minion wave as it comes in. Still sticking around here. Mini, of course, without the flash. Tough to actually get on top of the little bunny girl.
Yeah, just not able to get close enough. That's Annie's biggest weakness. Everyone talks about the long-range auto attacks, but those abilities are so short range. And even with Jarvan, over the wall, just not nearly enough HP on Toast to be able to go, and now very far forward Rovex, but no follow-up.
You have Shimmer in the area here, but was still finishing up the Krugs, so the engage there of the Leona not quite timed with the rotation in from the Jarvan. And now, Dragon Alive, looks like Team A going to be moving towards it. Again, they are looking to build up an early snowball here, getting this first objective. Be really big for them. I believe the first dragon last game also did go to Team A when they were on the blue side.
Yeah, and it's so important for Team A to be contesting at the very least these objectives, because if you look at their win condition, we keep talking about it, snowballing, fighting early. So if you're at the objective, one of 2 things happen. Either you get the objective for free, or you fight over the objective. Either one of those is a good thing for Team A, because you drafted to fight early and often, as now Toasty taking a ton of damage.
Yeah, definitely. Aurora been suffering a little bit in the lane, but Dragon secured for Team A, and 1 minute out on the Grubs. Last game we saw both teams rotate their bot lanes up towards the top side for the Grub fight. Curious to see if we'll see something similar here.
And you're seeing, in theory, the strength of this draft now. You're seeing how much damage and CC is available really
engage
early.
Coming out, mobility, early cleanse, yeah, but Team A not going to over-aggress. They're going to be happy getting out that summoner. Piercing arrow not quite going to land onto the Ezreal. So Team A now, they're going to be able to get the push out in the bot lane and then potentially look for that rotation if they would like to. Both junglers are currently on the top side of the map in anticipation of that next objective spawning. Hoarder going to be able to get some top prio here for Team A as well, but the Flashless Annie could be the target. Flash Cataclysm comes out in the Aurora ultimate as well. Team B with a nice pick right before those grubs come up.
Yeah, and I mean, that is the strength of the B-side draft, and what happens when you have a immobile mid laner with no flash. It's been quite some time since they blew that summoner, but it still being down means that they can easily take advantage of the positioning, and they didn't even require setup. They just walked into the lane, and
Oh,
2 HP
that is
Shimmer. That's
tragic.
absolutely, oh my god, took the words right out of my mouth. Horrible situation, and has to just forfeit because Aurora just finished the back.
And he used the smite as well to get the grub down to like 3 health or whatever that was. And Cryo just walks in there, pokes it with the spear, and that is going to be all 3 grubs for Team A. They get both of the early neutrals this time around. They're going to be feeling great about that. And they did rotate their bot lane up. Team B setting their bot lane up here as well, but too late. The objective's already gone.
Yeah, and that was another good decision, I feel like, could have been made earlier last game, is this lane swap and just deciding, as we see another cooldown rotation, just getting all of that out, letting Tibbers push in while they try and get these lanes swapped, is trying to open up the map. You want these fights to occur at these objectives. You want them to happen early and
flash
often.
engagement come out. No cleanse on the Varus. True drop Roger over the top mobility is able to flash away, but then Grand Starfall coming in as well. The Rel has already been taken down, and now that was a little bit over aggressive, unfortunately, from Team A. They wanted to try to keep this snowball rolling, but it may have just melted.
Okay, yeah, that was a little too much. That was a little disjointed. Rel goes in way too early. The Grand Starfall is cast, but that means that there's no ability to bail out if it goes south, and then Array just committing a Shimmer now going
Cataclysm on to find Mini, who did have the flashback, and now will have to expend it once again to get away from that Jarvan engage. You were saying, Jack?
Well, I mean, that right there is just like the worst feeling in the world. You finally have your flashback up, and you're like, all right, no longer am I going to have to play terrified because I'm not this constant target. And then here comes Shimmer flying in. Only objective is to get your flash burns it, and then you see the salty thumbs up emote when you know that they're saying thumbs up, but they're actually pissed.
Yeah, Between Worlds going to come out now, looking for the combo on to 5 Mini. Alex not quite able to find it. The Annie going to be able to limp away after collecting most of the minion wave. And now does have the teleport, of course, available as well, so 5 Mini can get back to lane pretty quickly. It's a nice roam here from Banana Pudding as well. Just looking to make sure that Aurora was going to be safe when she looked for that play. And it looks like 5 Mini will be back for the cannon minion.
Yep, waited in base for the Lost Chapter to come up, and now...
the wraparound now from Minwee, and there is the punishment onto the Aurora. Tries to flash away. One more fireball gonna come out from the Annie, and in the battle of the supports, it's Minwee who makes the bigger impact.
Yeah, and you can... That's verification that that thumbs up is a bad sign, because gets the kill there, gets the kill gold, no thumbs up to be seen. He's happy this time. And really good play by Minwee to get up there, take some of that tempo timing. Obviously, Array on this Ezreal doesn't really need to be babied down in this lane, can easily sit back and hit those Mystic shots to get that CS down there. And on the other side of the map, we've seen a matchup that was very talked about in the first game really go by the wayside is Crimson and Hoarder. Just sitting up here, Hoarder has complete control over this lane, hasn't even finished that Hallowed Radiance yet, and already the wave clear is so incredible. How are they going to be able to stop Hoarder on the side lane once those items are completed? One of the biggest upsides to the Hallowed Radiance is the side lane potential. That's why champs like Cho'Gath had such a huge presence earlier this year. Minwee could be in huge trouble right now.
Rel is not going to get hit by the flag, and Dragon the crash down really nice as well. Gets but the Solar Flare walks up Leona. Chain of Corruption connecting onto the Pantheon there as well means nobody can help out Minwee. Rel is going to get taken down. Meanwhile, Hoarder looking to test his luck against the Rumble as we look back towards the bot side. Cataclysm onto the flashless Pantheon. Cryer going to get taken down as well. Couple of quick ones going over to Team B, and they're going to look for their first Dragon of the game.
I mean, it's so ironic because Team B end up winning that exchange and having the setup for the Dragon by doing exactly what Team A want to be doing. You find that Death Brush, you clear out the vision, you pick off a member, and now with the numbers advantage, there's just no chance as Hoarder is very close.
They're still fighting over this one without their jungler. Team A still looking to put a stop to the objective take, as flashing back into the pit as Shimmer secures the objective. Does have to sacrifice himself, but well worth it as Array is going to be going down as well. But now the fire fireball as we finish off the Aurora. There's a couple kills back over to Team A. It's going to be 5mini carrying through the team fight. Picks up the triple kill on the Annie. And just when it was starting to look good for Team B, it's Team A's mid laner that turns it right back around.
I mean, 5mini showing the real power of this Annie champion, showing why they were on a team called Mission Impossible. Goes in 2v3, 2v4 at one point in that Dragon Pit as Manui trying to pull the wave away from the tower and try and get as many minions to die without any sort of response. Looked a little sus for a moment there, but was able to get out with the crash down, and that enhanced blast cone is going to be the Chemtech Rift, which is pretty meh for both of these teams. I mean, it is going to be helpful for Team B to be able to not just get blown up in a millisecond by Team A's pick comp, but other than that, not a huge impact. And now we see these 80 carries just absorbing waves in the mid lane. Both teams looking to have somewhat of a soft reset as we wait for the Rift Herald to spawn.
Yeah, we were treated to the Hextech Rift last game, right? So I think a Chemtech Rift here is fine. You know, we don't want to be greedy, right, Jack? It's
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
fine. We can. That's right. Yeah, we can deal with a Chemtech Soul this time around. As the Herald, as you mentioned, is coming up pretty soon in about 30 seconds. We do see Team B already playing towards this side of the map, looking to set up around the pit. Meanwhile, Kryra on the bottom side wants to try and catch out this Rumble potentially, but Crimson, perhaps aware of that possibility, playing very respectfully at the moment, really utilizing that Chem Rift, the enhanced Scryer Blooms, to get all the information that he needs. And now we'll see if the Pantheon wants to move back up towards this top side. Again, Team A, they want to be fighting around these objectives. They lost out on the last Dragon, but 5mini kind of really salvaging that play for Team A. Keeps them still in a pretty decent spot to try to look for these fights. Knockup coming out from Hoarder, looking for the ultimate as well. Is going to find yet another knockup onto Crimson, but the Rumble is going to be able to back underneath the turret. Still holds on to the flash and the ultimate for potential teleport up towards this top side if the rest of his team needs him for this fight.
Yeah, that's a really, really smart engage there by Hoarder. It has nothing to do with getting a kill on Rumble or winning this bottom lane encounter. It has everything to do with trying to win for his team on the top side and getting Rumble as low as possible so we can't join this fight.
Solar Flare coming down onto Manui, but the follow-up is not immediate, and the Rel will be able to get away. So that is a big tool down now for Team B. So they have yet to start up the Herald. They're not feeling confident enough, despite relative control over the area. This Ray is able to Arcane Shift away from the hail of arrows, keep himself relatively healthy. Herald now started up by Team B. Kryra, though, in a great position. Going to be able to jump on top of the Varus, who does flash away, but one more Mystic Shot would do it, but Array can't quite find it. The Torch Shot comes through. It's going to be a 1-for-1 in the mid lane, and now Equalizer coming down as Crimson is teleported in, is going to be able to punish the Annie, who had already used the flash. So that is 2-for-1 overall. Team B coming out on top as the jungler, one of the players who went down for Team A, should be an objective over to Team B.
Yeah, and Array was too low from the extra turret shot that they got from going even, or making sure that they at least went even on that 2v1 against mobility, so no ability to contest that objective. Hoarder did not TP into that, just walked up, so even though they tried to get Crimson too low, in the end, all Crimson had to do was teleport and use the Equalizer, so it doesn't matter how low health they were. If that cooldown was up, they were always going to be able to join and be impactful, as Crimson just trying to run away. This Ornn, such an incredible nuisance. And Hoarder really showing the improvement over the course of this year. At the beginning of the year, watched a lot of those NACL matches, and if it wasn't a bruiser, really didn't feel like Hoarder had as much impact outside of the laning phase, but has seen some growth, especially towards the back end of this year. And now on champions like Ornn, understanding how to affect the map more effectively without just focusing on winning your lane. Did go for that Kanik Rooker, wants to do as well as possible in this one-on-one matchup. So focusing a lot on beating out the Rumble, also taking into account you've got an Aurora, and if she can't burst you down, there's not really much she can do. So trying to build specifically for some of the damage on the other team, as looks like we are going to have a bit of a mid-siege.
Yeah, Herald summoned up here in mid with the Dragon alive right now. It's going to be Team B looking for some priority. See if they can parlay this into the objective take. Shelly getting a little bit distracted, chunked down. That could be another eye pop and a denied potentially here on the charge. And there it is. Cryer able to smite it down. Looks like he's going to have another charge for a potential Dragon secure as well. Team B still trying to move into the river, but they didn't really utilize that priority very effectively. They are going to look for the engage onto Manui, but the Rel's able to crash away. And look at the other side of the fight. Mobility completely isolated on the Varus. Going to get completely destroyed by Team A. And now looking for the other side of the team fight. The Cataclysm does come down. The Equalizer is decent, but Team A already has done all of the damage that they need. Toasty Alex, the last survivor. Looks like the Aurora at least will be able to get away, but Team A, the stronger team fighting there, able to come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, they execute what their team's purpose is. You find a member of the enemy team and you delete them, and when they get onto mobility without access to the flash, no amount of Yumu's speed is going to get you out when you're getting multiple cooldowns used on top of your head to lock you down, able to get this second dragon. And it really did start pretty poorly for Team A. Rel gets half health. You're not able to get any sort of return. You have the Pantheon just walking forward, which is not this champ's strength, but they're able to focus, find that pick onto Varus, and then once Varus is down, it really just goes into retreat mode. You now only have to worry about CCing the Aurora and the Rumble, and when you only have 2 targets, going from 3 targets to 2 makes it so much easier to actually fight some of the damage being put out. I also really like Andy's build at this point. Having that Bloodletter's Curse is going to really make Ornn feel like a huge damage dealer in some of these fights with all that magic shred that there's going to be, especially when you look at the other team. And other than a couple Mercury treads, no MR being built yet.
That last fight feels like a really significant moment in this game, right? Because it was pretty even. Team A with that team fight win, able to get the Dragon. They're able to retake some controls. Remember, you really do feel like they are on a timer. It's just going to get more difficult as Team B, with all these damage dealers, are able to get more items online. You know, we see right now Crimson still looking to put the pieces of that second item together. Not really that strong yet on the Rumble. It is going to be much scarier as the game progresses. Cataclysm looking in the bot side once again as Kryra forced to flash away from the Solar Flare. It's Team B now, the ones trying to get aggressive, look for these picks in the enemy jungle. At least they do get the flash.
Yeah, I mean, they played that so well, though. You know, Solar Flare and Cataclysm have much shorter cooldowns than the Flash, but
Great
here comes
Starfall
the
now going to come out. Call of the Forge God as well as the wraparound from Hoarder finds the ultimate onto mobility after the flash. Beautiful execution there from Team A. Amazing coordination as they collapse onto the mid lane from multiple angles, and mobility just had no way out. And the kill for 5 mini as well just drops the bear on top of the Rumble, and Team A blowing this game wide open. They get 3 for nothing and the mid-tier 1 and an Otacon as well. Massive win here in the mid-game.
I mean, 5 mini must have heard people's minds. They go, what an incredible engage by Hoarder. That guy's definitely getting player of the game. 5 mini wanted to remind you how well they're playing, but the Otacon, very low. Smite available for Shimmer.
Yeah, the Jarvan still does have the possibility of getting in here, but now 5 mini on the rotation down. The turn off the objective, the engage. Beautiful from Manui. The Otacon will be slain, and now Array moving in on the Ezreal for the damage as it comes out. The Ezreal on his 2-item spike, just shredding through the health bars. Two-shot barrage not going to land, and now Hoarder does have to back away as the turret is going to help to take down Manui. The teleport back in for Crimson. They're looking for a little bit of a punish as Cryer going to get taken down as well. The flag and drag into the Cataclysm onto 3, and Team A just a little bit too far forward there as at least Array is going to be able to take down the Rumble before getting chopped down himself. And it turned into a pretty messy fight in the end there, but still Team A going to hold on to the gold lead.
I mean, not anymore. 100
Not
gold
anymore.
is the difference. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've seen a North American team get aced for an Otacon. That was so good, and even the first couple of kills in the dive were so good, but they go that one step too far. The chains of corruption lock them down under the turret. It gets ramped up, and Hoarder specifically takes multiple ramped up shots. Rel goes down so quickly. I spent like a moment talking about it last game, but with the buffs to some of these Enchanter support items like Mikhail's, you're not getting Locket on these supports. They're so squishy, and Manui is getting hit caught again.
Yeah, no Cataclysm this time. Zrel trying to get back underneath the tower. Does have the remount and the flip back, but still eventually going to get taken down. Too much damage coming out from Alex on that Aurora. Picks up number 5. So nice pick for Team B. They are keeping this game nice and close. Grand Starfall, not really going to be on top of anybody for Kryra, and that's going to be the shift in retreat forced out for Array. So not the most amazing Pantheon ultimate, but now could potentially find a wraparound onto Alex. With that tier 1 still standing, though, the Aurora should be all right.
Yeah, and they saw them the whole way through. They saw them come down with those that control ward and the regular ward on the Raptors, and then they knew that they were going for the dive because of the pink ward and the topside tri-brush. So I understand what they were going for there, but that does go to show just how this comp has to be played, and I understand the over-aggression. That's just what you have to do when these are your champions. You have to find those kills one after another on these aggressive dives around these objectives. And it is still impressive to see Team A able to compete so evenly in these objectives when Team B now has the damage, they have the positioning, able to get the vision down and be the first to some of these objectives. But if they can get this mid push in right now, Team A could have pretty good positioning, but Manui could get caught out again here.
Yeah, Flag Drag is going to get the knock up for Shimmer, but Manui immediately trying to turn it around with the crash down, but now out of mobility, forced to flash. Solar Flare is not going to get the stun as the Rel barely manages to escape, but so low on health now is Manui. Going to be really tough to contest this one, but Hoarder moving in on the side, still has the ultimate available. If Team A are still feeling confident enough to pull the trigger, Hoarder walking up pretty far by himself right now, but Team B not willing to engage onto the Ornn. They have started up the Dragon. It will be secured by Team B, so we're all tied up at 2 Dragons apiece. Team A going to settle for their mid priority. They had already taken this tier 1, and now Team B potentially going to wrap around on them. Here comes the call of the Forge God, but multiple angles coming out as Team A looks to collapse towards the top side of the team fight. Mobility extremely low, but he does manage to flash away. Stays alive for now. Hoarder is taking a lot of damage from the Aurora, and it is going to get taken down by the piercing arrow of the Varus, and now it's immediately 2 kills for Team B at the start of the fight. Team A sticking around a little bit too long there in the mid lane. They are going to get punished, and Team B feels like they may have turned the corner with this composition.
Yeah, it's exactly what we talked about in that first game of Shimmer is just going to flag and drag away. They push in mid lane, understanding that they can't get position in the Dragon Pit and knowing that Manui can come and rejoin if they push in the mid lane. An Equalizer, though, cuts off Array, so they all turn and focus on mobility. But I said it in the first game multiple times, if you aren't able to kill that first target that you get the pick on, the collapse is just going to destroy you. And because they aren't able to kill mobility, Toasty Alex, Shimmer, Crimson, they all run up, and mobility even able to contribute a lot of damage with that long range that Varus provides you. So now, even on Dragons, they've got a turret, only 1 turret taken, so there's a lot of standing gold on the map for Team B to collect, and they already have a 2k gold lead without taking 2 of the 3 outer turrets. So this could quickly get out of hand, and certainly Team A able to hold on for a lot longer with it be 26 minutes, and 4 minutes is how old it is. Manui again!
Oh, Manui just going to get melted there in mid lane. Sidestep on the Zenith Blade for Kryra. Means it's just going to be that 1 pick for Team B for now. Baron is alive. Are they going to feel confident to look towards it? They want the tier 1 and the Pantheon as well. The Hot Pot combo comes out onto Kryra. He does have the Aegis Assault, but the Solar Flare connecting onto Array as well means the Ezreal cannot help out his jungler. And then that's going to be another pick over to Team B. And with the enemy jungler down, that could be a go signal on the Baron, but Shimmer is very low on the Jarvan. Hoarder moving over, but ooh, careful, Mr. Ornn. You want to face check the banana brush with 4 people standing in it. Looks like Team B, though, they will go for the recalls. Health bar's too low.
Yeah, I mean, Hoarder looking to put the team on his back, just running everyone down, making sure that they cannot turn onto that Baron and really try and look to end this game. And Manui, just time after time, every objective, every timer getting caught out over and over again, has to clean that up if they're going to come back into this game. Now has ballooned to a 3k gold advantage with only one of those outers being taken. I would like to see Team B put some priority topside, and as it is a little bit later in this game, 28 minutes, this is when any mistakes you make really can balloon, and if you have one misstep, Team A could be able to end with how much wave clear they have and how much tank they have to just walk down turrets, as you see them already prioritizing this top lane, making sure that what I just suggested they do cannot happen. And Shimmer looking for another engaged order, but be caught.
We're trying to charge away, has to flash away from the sword for the Chin Corruption, connecting onto the Ezreal, but the Grand Starfall over the top forces Team B to retreat, try to reform the battle as mobility already taken down. It is going to be Alex with the Between Worlds, is getting a lot of damage out on the Aurora, but that's going to be another member of Team B isolated off on the side as Shimmer does manage to trade one back, takes down the Rel with the Cataclysm, but then gets taken down by the Pantheon for a double kill over to Kryra. On the other side of the fight, it is Alex and Crimson still alive, but a team fight win for Team A. They get the 3 for 2, and they're going to look for the Baron here. No jungler on Team B, and it looks like they're solo laners. Oh, we do have the teleport back into the mid lane for Crimson. Maybe they will try to put a stop to this after all. The Rumble, he doesn't have Equalizer. This is going to be a tough ask for the Team B solo laners. The charge in when Crimson goes golden, buys a lot of time, getting so much damage out with the Flame Spitter, and it's going to be the Team B solo laners. Oh, the Rumble does get taken on. Alex flashes in, but he can't find the Q, and Array manages to clean up the Aurora. Team A still in this one.
Yeah, it was crazy risky to go for that Baron, but they decide to turn, which is the right call. But Crimson, with that Seeker's Arm Guard Flame Spitter, did so much damage, and without Equalizer, without Between World, it was always going to be difficult to win that 2v3. Array really popped off there to collect all of those kills, make sure that they couldn't ace them, wait and turn around to get that Baron. Great job as a whole for Team A on that fight. They do the one thing they have to win these fights. They execute one of the 3 damage dealers before the fight can really take off. Mobility getting picked off again. And unlike what we've been talking about with Manui, it's not really like Mobility's misplaying. If his flash is down, it's going to be an all-out engage. The Starfall came down. They were able to just run right up to him, expend their cooldowns. Immediately, they destroy the Chemtech Drake. That will be sole point for them. Down to a 1k gold lead. And once this next item comes in for Ezreal, this is really going to become a huge piece of output and their biggest scaling damage dealer. Array trying to get the last bits of gold they need to finish off that last Whisper.
Yeah, I mean, we do already see the 4 items done for mobility on that Varus, but oh, 5 Mini in trouble underneath the top tier 1 teleport coming out from the Ornn from Hoarder to defend his mid laner will be successful. And now Team B retreating back into the river called the Forge God. Going to come out, finds a couple of knockups. The flash engage from Minui, but Shimmer with the counter engage, trying to keep the Annie from really getting involved in the fight. It will be a trade. Annie for Rumble at the start. Manui still going forward. Finds a flip back on mobility. The Vera is forced to burn both summoners to try to get away. Leona not going to be so lucky. Alex with some decent damage with the weirding. 2 for 1 so far for Team A. They're going to have control over the river. Shimmer chunked out as well on the Jarvan. Is this finally going to be the Baron opportunity for Team A? Their health bars are also somewhat low. They could look for a turn here once again. The Piercing Arrow coming out, only connecting onto the Ornn. The flag for the information. But now the Jarvan doesn't have it to potentially get away as Shimmer isolated there off on the side. Crash out from Manui. He does get the combo back just barely in time as the Jarvan manages to flag and drag out to safety. Close call there. Just a slight advantage in the fight for Team A.
And they do it again. They kill Crimson as the fight is starting, but it takes them too long. They're able to get a trade back onto Phi Mini, and that means you're not going to have the extended CC to really wipe that team fight. You're seeing Team A is able to win or at least gain a small advantage in some of these team fights, but it's so difficult. They have to expend everything. They have to hit everything perfectly and layer all of that CC to the best of their ability just to have a chance to win the team fights at this point in the game. I really think that Team B has to start taking their positioning much more seriously, be way more intentional about how you're walking into these pits. Crimson, I know they're melee, but they can't be the first one to rock up because you're just going to get chain CC'd. You need to put Rovex in the top or in the front of these team fights. You don't even have to really look to engage these fights because you have so much follow-up, you have so much damage. Force Team A to engage on a bad look and then just take advantage on the rebound. Toasty Alex might be a little bit out of position here.
Yeah, he's pretty isolated at the moment. You do see Shimmer try to move down on the Jarvan to help peel for the Aurora, but Alex is getting chased down right now. Here comes the Jarvan and the teleport in for that other Team B solo laner, and now Hoarder is the one who may be overextended, does try to go for the knockup onto 2, but and does have the flash as well, going to try to use it and the charge to attempt to get out to safety, but the Orange is getting burned down. He does have the Ezreal there to try to get out a little bit of return fire, but it's not going to be enough. And now the flash forward for Crimson, looking for the Annie underneath the tower, and it is going to be a double kill over to the Rumble. Minui now and the Pantheon. See a Ray here off on the side, looking for the Mystic Shot, can't quite find it onto Shimmer. It's going to be able to shift away from the hail of arrows. Team B now find a couple more. Crimson in a tough spot, though. Array should be able to clean up this kill onto the Rumble, is able to do so, and the Ezreal actually unstoppable 12-4 this game. Array on the Ezreal kind of going insane.
Yeah, the teleport was really well timed. Array able to get that cleanup kill onto Crimson, but Team A just not able to collapse in time to reconnect with Hoarder and Phi Mini. Good call by Team B. This is what I said. They don't even have to look to engage. Just react. You have the better comp. You can just win the fights as long as you react. And Array now might be caught out.
Yeah, looking for that really fat Ezreal. He does shift away from the chain of corruption. Now the crash down coming out from Minui, but Array is solo. Immediately has to back away, and now Kryra Grand Starfall in. Is this a bridge too far for the Pantheon? It does have Hoarder moving in, and the Pantheon will be able to back away from that situation. So a little bit of a dangerous moment, but everybody on Team A able to back away. Now Crimson going to be respawning soon without the teleport, though. It's Team A moving to the top side river, get some control around the Baron pit. Here comes the teleport out from Alex. You know, Aurora going to be able to immediately come back into the mid lane. And we reset 20 seconds until the next Dragon Jack. And this would be Soul for Team A if they can get it.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal for them to expend some of those cooldowns like the Grand Starfall, because once you get into these fights over the objectives, a lot of those cooldowns just aren't going to be as useful because Pantheon has to be right there, right away, can't afford to wait for that channel to go off as Hoarder is trying to get. They have to get this first position in the river, which is what they're exactly what they're trying to achieve here. Now using that Bloom and Array.
Array so confident, immediately starts up the Dragon. Kryra going in, already used the Aegis Assault as Team B try to force their way in, but the Dragon getting burned down. Team B running out of time to make their move. Call the Forge God as well. Gets the knockup on it to the engage. Follow up from the Rel. The Equalizer is doing a ton of damage in return, though, but Team A may have already done everything they needed. The Chain of Corruption onto the front line. GA coming through for Kryra. They're just going to leave the Pantheon out to dry. They cannot salvage the team fight for Team A, but they already got the objective. They secured the Chemtech Soul, and Team B just waiting a little bit too long there to make their move.
Yeah, Hoarder played that well to get the Dragon. Just run straight at Shimmer and hit all your CC abilities on them so that they can't get into the pit. But you're seeing just the difference in the ease of execution of these compositions. They give over the Cloud Soul, but the cleanup on the fight is just too easy as Array dealing so much damage.
Yeah, this Ezreal is so scary. Look at him. Oh, he's gonna look for the big play here. The weirding does come out, and Array with the Arcane Shift backward. He's not gonna be over aggressive. Just wanted to get them off the Baron, and will succeed in that.
I mean, just so confident. Used the Arcane Shift to go back just to dodge the Chains of Corruption, and then ran straight back towards them to keep putting out that damage. One more Mystic Shot and Mobility would have been dead. Our Array really is carrying them right now with the damage output, and in these team fights putting down so much, holding them at bay. The Sharilda's Grudge completed. Only one more item to go. Probably going to be a Spear of Shojin if I had to guess with that drill in the inventory. And Annie now has the Rabadon's Death Cap. You're seeing those ornaments come through for the entire team.
Oh,
Array might be caught.
Caught out a little bit, but able to dodge away. The piercing arrow not going to land for Mobility. And this Ezreal, yeah, definitely most wanted for Team B, but such a tough champion to pin down. Array's been having a great game so far. It's insane that this game is still so close. We're 37.5 minutes in right now. Chemtech Soul has gone over to Team A. They
When you
it's not a game-ending solo by itself.
No, and they're just kind of waiting for either Elder or Baron wanting the other team to make a mistake, and it's, Team A has to kind of rely on that mistake to be made, otherwise they have to play out of their minds. Crimson's going to get a ton of gold to get towards that Rabadon's death cap. I do want to point out, as this game gets later and later, and they do start looking at this Baron, both junglers understanding their roles, going for these more tank-oriented items, trying to stay
Yeah.
alive. Looks like Team A are going to try and rush this.
Many off on the side on the Annie, gonna look to try to get that Tibbers down on the priority targets. Clearly Team A wanting to find the turn as the teleport does come in from the Rumble. Death Cap, oh, he has the Shadow Flame actually, I believe was the completion there for Crimson. It is 4 items done now on the Rumble. True Shot Barrage, just getting that spell shield off of the Varus. That Edge of Night gonna get taken down. Now the Ornn engage, going to be coming out. Find the knock up onto Crimson. Manui in a decent position on the backline. His Grand Starfall coming out as well, but Kryra forced to immediately flash away, gets away from the piercing arrow, and the Rumble burning down so low. Array finds the Mystic Shot. Arcane shifting forward now as Banana Pudding is going to be the next to fall in Team A. They find the decisive engage that they needed as Shimmer trying to get into the Raptor pick, but Manui closing the door on him. The Jarvan forced to go back in, and Array Arcane shifts right on top of his face to secure these last couple of kills. It's going to be the ace for Team A, the 5-for-1 team fight, and they will be the first ones to make this red side draft work.
You used the absolute perfect word, decisive. They do not flinch. They do not defer from what it is they need to do to win. All out engage. No one panics when they get split up. When Crimson uses the Zhonya's, they stay committed. They get every single kill at only the expense of 5 mini. And better than VKS, pick up a win with the red side comp. Go to 2-0 in this series.
Beautifully done by Team A. I mean, we really felt like with this red side draft, the key to its success was going to have to be a snowballing of the early game, right? To make sure that the Pantheon and the Annie were going to continue to have value as the game progressed. But in the end, my original analysis turned out to be pretty apt for this one, as Array on the Ezreal was doing just insane amounts of work in this game. On top of the damage charts, that is no surprise. 51.5k just about in what was, I think, about a 40-minute game. Oh, man, a beautiful Ezreal performance from the man.
Yeah, incredible. Just doing their job to perfection, putting out, like I said, their objective there was to just put out as much damage as possible. They're the only person whose sole focuses that output, and they did it incredibly well. They held off so many objectives with the artillery being put down, and the rest of them did their jobs too. You got to land your CC, you got
Yeah.
to layer it well, and they're able to catch out Crimson in a couple of those later team fights and position well and wait out these points where the Aurora damage this late in the game starts to fall off a little bit, because you have champs like Ornn, Annie, Pantheon that are going in first, able to get some of those tank items. Even Manui, for as much as they got caught out early, built an Abyssal Mask, knowing that Aurora and Rumble were really the biggest threats they had to live through that damage. And incredible performances by everyone. I'm going to give a shout out to Hoarder, because in those late fights, they were the main engage, consistently hitting those Call of the Forge gods, landing all of them on the correct targets. Great, prediction on some of those early to hit those right targets. But I think at the end there, we have to give the biggest shout out to Array and really holding it together and bridging through their more rough team fights, keeping them alive.
Yeah, I do think that the POG has to go to Array in the end, because but everybody on Team A did their job in this game, right? They just, Array wouldn't have been able to pop off like that if he wasn't set up for success. It was, Kryra and Manui looking for those engages onto the priority targets. You already called out Hoarder with those amazing ultimates. All of the tools for Team B ended up getting taken down. And again, we saw Array with these amazing opportunities to clean up those team fights. Really, really nicely done by everybody on Team A, able to make this draft work. Definitely a tough one. I mean, we saw the power of the blue side draft again in this game as well. Like, Team B definitely found plenty of opportunities. Plenty of fights did end up going in their favors, but it definitely felt like Team A were the more decisive squad. They were able to just play out those team fights a little bit better, a little bit more coordinated, I think, is the main thing for me.
Yeah, and it's a lot of what we talked about earlier with the comms, and we've seen this trend now with Kryra on these teams. The coordination is just so good, and Array playing their job extremely well as the most veteran player on one of these teams, knowing exactly how to play these roles out. But to go to Team B, I mean,
Mm,
they also understood the comp, what they had to do, and a lot of those team fights where they were able to claw it back, it was by perfectly responding to what Team A wanted to do. In the end, it just was about them getting split in that very last fight. You had everyone diving onto Crimson, and Shimmer wanted to try and cut off Array from the rest of the fight, went in with the Cataclysm and tried to force those members to stay in the back. But at 40 minutes into a game, everyone's got items, everyone's got damage, and once Crimson goes down, you've got, an Aurora that's fallen off at this point, and a Varus who has to really focus more on positioning than damage output with that lethality build. So
yeah.
in the end, it comes down to what we started this by saying, is that communication. How are we going to play out these crucial team fights? And Team A just had it down better.
Yeah, they were putting so much pressure on mobility on that immobile Varus. And the other big thing as well, right, is the fact that they were consistently splitting up the fight. You can't be grouping up against Rumble, Jarvan, Aurora. They have so much AoE damage. They're going to blow up your entire team if you group up and allow them to land those abilities on multiple members. So it was so cool to see Manui going for those really deep wraparounds on the Rel to try and come from those, flanking behind all of Team B. And, the Pantheon as well, going so deep with those ultimates just to kind of create that chaos and make it so difficult for Team B to reform those battle lines and look to set up the fights in the way that they wanted. So, really, I think just credit to Team A for piloting those fights so nicely. And it'll be really interesting to see what these teams decide to go for in with their game 3 drafts. I'm imagining we're probably just going to see pretty much pure team fight from both sides. But the other thing to keep in mind with this event, right, Jack, is the fact that it's not really about winning, right? It's really more about the players being able to show what they're capable of and being able to demonstrate, their abilities with different kinds of champions, with different kinds of compositions. So I wonder for the side of Team B if they're going to feel like they want another crack at one of these kind of tempo-based pick comps just to see if they can prove that they can make it work.
Essentially, especially when you consider what's up and available. We still have so many great junglers that fit that playstyle. Wukong, Xin Zhao, Vi, notably, all up and available. I think the top lane, I don't think we're going to be seeing a Scion in this next game, even though it is the top prio top laner. I think that they're going
Yeah.
to be wanting to have some stuff that allows them to scrap a bit more in that top side. And then I think mid lane's probably going to be pretty similar. The bot lanes, though, I want to see if mobility yesterday, or not yesterday, but last time that I cast mobility, the key ended up being getting them on something with some playmaking, some facilitation of their own. When mobility has agency and is able to really take control of a game, they really shine. And so on the Varus, had good damage output, but you can't really carry a fight as lethality Varus when you're just getting Doven on. So with stuff like Kaisa up and available, Caitlyn up and available, even Corki, it's one of the highest prio right now, and there's a lot of potential when Valkyrieing forward. You have a lot of health in that build. Yunara, obviously, up and available. So I think with some of these champions like Ezreal Varus, Fearless Band, this could open up for mobility to have a lot of prio.
We'll have to see. You have any other final thoughts on the first couple of games, Jack, before we go to another quick break?
I think that Team B and the coaching really need to figure out how to play out these early games, because Team A had that early invade kill on Shimmer. It feels like Team A have the exact idea of how they want to play out the early games, and Team B has to have a response.
Yeah, absolutely. Hoping to see them have a strong start to this third and final game. We'll see about the drafts, guys, in just a few minutes. We'll be back for the last game of the set.
Those cravers backstab me, deceive me. Never shall I tolerate their crimes again. Now let the hunt begin. Yeah, 7,000 souls scared and daunted. Such a tale of woe. Not too long ago, this village was a
She's such a misfit, always ready to brawl. It's like her business, roughing up your friends. The law, there is no difference. If you believe you're strong, she's a bulldozer, making sure you're flat on the ground. She's like a boomerang that never gives up. She flies in circles till she hits you and you're brought in the dust. So just remember this: when she's chasing you down, face first, you'll be thrown into the proving ground. She'll knock you out. Have you ever really wanted to be a total rebel, flipping tables on the enemy? Did you ever try to further improve how fast you punch people through the roof? Oh, was there ever any certain time when you thought brute force and style combined? Well, I guess now's time to shine, 'cause finally she's here. Here comes mine. As a matter of fact, the best bet one has is to quickly react to the first attack that's taken for the wounds. She'll never go back, just resist.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We are about to be jumping into this Game 3 Champion Select between these two teams. Team A, 2-0 so far on the set. See if they can make it a clean sweep. Team B, definitely going to be looking to make a mark here before all is said and done. Taking a look at the first couple of bans. Team A on the blue side going to be banning away the Nico and the Talia. You were just talking about the Nico a little bit, Jack.
Yeah, I know that Manui is very fond of that champion, and not being able to have it makes sense. You're not going to first pick it, so I understand banning onto that side because it is a very capable R1, R2 response and a Renekton in a very safe blind top lane. So that leads me to believe that they're looking to pick a jungler on this first pick because of the mid lane and the top lane bans, because they want to prevent giving a strong blind over. Or maybe this Orianna ban is brilliant because they get rid of the Talia, which is a good response. So I think we're either going to see something like Xin Zhao, or maybe I'm just a complete fool and they want the incredible scaling Azir that will be ever present in Pro League of Legends because it is one of the strongest. And we were talking about Phi Mini and how impressive that they've been, so now has a very scaling capable champion in their hands.
Absolutely. It'd be exciting to see what he's going to be able to get done with the pick. Yeah, it's definitely a very different look from, honestly, I would say both the Aurora and the Annie. You know, Azir obviously a lot more about the consistent damage, does maybe have some similar playmaking capabilities as those other champions as well. I guess champion just kind of does everything. That's why he is prioed so highly. So there's the Yunara going to come out on R1.
Yeah, and important to mention about Yunara, second highest prio champ on this 1520, or on the 1520 patch, which is the most played pro patch, but has been buffed on 1521, which is what we're playing on. So this Yunara pick even stronger. Did get some more of a like more of an adjustment than a straight up buff, and the Mbessa coming through. Crimson played extremely well on it during the last set that I cast. Also a great blind into whatever skirmishing top there is most likely going to be. And important to note, as we wait for the response, last series that we did, it was the team that went down 0-2 that ended up winning this drafted round. And a lot of the same players being here, as the Xin Zhao is locked and probably going to see the AD carry response. I think you just go with stock standard Corki here.
They see Ambessa though. I mean, they could just take an answer for the top side and you know, not have to worry about Team B banning away a couple of those better options into the Ambessa. I am really surprised that they would blind pick their top laner on red side after already seeing Team A lock in the Azir, the mid on B1. Feels like Team B just kind of like completely forgoing that red side counter pick advantage.
Yeah, because something's going to get banned out here. Either Team A is going to lose out on their AD carry pool, or Team B going to lose out on that mid lane. There is going to be the Corki. So with Yunara, flex unlikely. But Corki is one of these champs that does well against Azir in lane because of just how long range you can put down damage at. But once the game gets out of the laning phase, it kind of falls in a similar category as Aurora, where the damage falls off the later you go. We'll have a spike that hits earlier than Azir, but the further and further along we get, the less they're going to be able to compete. As you see Team B attacking that AD carry pool, as I mentioned, and Team A going after the jungle pool. Wukong out, Xin Zhao out, now Trundle gone. And Trundle to me suggests that, you know, they might be looking for a more engaged-oriented AD carry like an Alistar here. Don't want to get the Subjugate onto that Unbreakable Will. And for AD carry, I think that we've seen enough from Array, and he's also just played long enough to where now all the high prio AD carries are gone. He's going to find something to play.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think we're too worried about the pool being pinched too much, since it is only the 10 champions banned from the Fearless side of things. So the Vi gonna get taken away here as well. It is a great pairing with the Ambessa in particular, right? With the point and click Vi ultimate sets you up for the Ambessa ultimate, making that one also point and click. Feels really powerful, so seems like a pretty good ban there from Team A. Corki did get taken away as well by Team B. They already do have that Ziggs answer into the Azir in the mid lane, and now their jungle lock-in on the R4. Looks like the Skarner being considered. Not something we see too often these days, but is certainly going to at least provide a good front line for the Yunara and the Ziggs to try to work around.
And also provides very good setup with the Mbessa. As you said, you hit that impale. Mbessa has very easy follow-up into those members because you can control exactly where they are. Have not seen Skarner in a hot minute, and now Team A almost accidentally banning out a big counter with the Trundle ban themselves. Xin Zhao, though,
Yeah.
will be okay into the Skarner. That Crescent Guard makes you such a capable frontline champ, as it will be Jin into Yunara Ziggs. Ambessa is pretty good, and
Ooh.
Bard. Manui is a big Bard fan, and with these lower mobility champions, Yunara would have to burn her ult and E to get out of the ultimate there. So going to really set up Manui well to roam, affect the map, and stay relevant throughout the course of the game. And Jin pairs well because you don't really need to sit there and baby the Jin for too long. This would be insane.
Do it. Do it.
There
All
it is.
right, the Pike locked in. So matching the roaming potential of the Bard, right? But definitely feels like a pretty risky pick. I mean, Pike definitely one of those feast or famine champions where, if you're able to snowball early, if you're landing the hooks, you can feel it feels like your opponents have almost no counterplay, right? But if the Pike isn't able to get off the ground, then he's very, very squishy, easily burst down, and could end up being pretty underwhelming if we don't see Robux able to have a very good game on it.
Yeah, and it's
Wow.
kind of exactly what you said about Team B. Are they going to try and go back to that red side draft style and go for a pick heavy snowball necessary comp? And they do have the Yunara this time, so some more scaling options there, much more scaling option than the Ezreal, but they are reliant on getting this going early. Otherwise, Pike just kind of becomes a champ that goes in and dies right away because I mean Jin is just gonna blow this thing up if it doesn't actually have a threat. Azir, same thing. I'm really interested to see how Fi Mini plays because Hoarder's on his Jack's going to play great. We know that. Kryra on a very good jungler. We've been praising Fi Mini for how well they're playing. They're in a losing lane. They're on their team's pretty much biggest insurance. Is this Azir? Azir is going to scale and play well. If they are not able to play this out the way we often see Azirs do, this could get a bit dicey for Team A. So putting a lot of confidence in their mid laner.
Yeah, gave him all the draft resources as well, right? Taking that Azir on B1. It makes sense, right? The pick is very meta, very high priority, and Find Many been having a great day so far as well, as you mentioned. So I do think it's probably a good call from the side of Team A to go in that direction, put those eggs in the Find Many basket, as it were. And we'll see how he does. At least Team B, they did get that counter pick in the mid lane, able to take the Ziggs answer into the Azir, allows you to farm very safely, and you do scale pretty nicely alongside the Azir as well, right? The Ziggs, and once you get more items under your belt, the damage does get pretty ridiculous there. But I feel like, obviously what the Ziggs lacks as opposed to the Azir is you don't really have that same playmaking potential. You don't have that, those opportunities to look for the big sweeps that the Azir can look towards. So Team B, I definitely hear what you're saying about how it feels like they maybe are going to be under some pressure here. They do have decent scaling with both the Ziggs and the Yunara, but I do feel like it's going to be tough to play the fights out later on. And you have to consider on the side of Team A, they have that Azir scaling you always have to worry about, and the Jax, the side lane threat, I think is probably going to be really difficult for Team B to answer later on as well.
Yeah, I feel like in these previous matchups, the biggest lane matchup we were really focusing on was often the mid lane because that Aurora Annie is so back and forth, and it really just depends on who has their flash up and available as to whether a kill can be gotten or not. This time, it's it's the top lane. These are the two best young North American top laners. Hoarder, Rookie of the Year. Crimson obviously has the family lineage with Sniper and Viper looking to be the third to break into LCS. And now we're on one of the most mechanically heavy matchups, just Jack and Bessa. It's who's got the better hands, constant fighting, constant skirmishing. They're going to be trading over every single CS, and that's going to be a lot more fun to watch than an Ornn pushing in Rumble, just managing their mana pool, trying to not get caught on the island. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I feel like Hoarder has kind of had Crimson's numbers so far today. We saw the Rumble from Hoarder having that massive impact in game number one. And then in game two, there was that early solo kill where Crimson wanted to look for it underneath the tower, and like Hoarder was able to turn it around on him with the Ornn. So definitely excited to see, and the fact that Team B, went for this Ambessa pick so early, I guess that was just a big comfort pick for Crimson, right? I mean, you mentioned you've seen him pop off on this pick already at this event, so clearly, I think that was the thought process for Team B. But what are your more detailed thoughts on that matchup overall? Obviously Hoarder taking the Jax into the Ambessa, he's going to be pretty confident in that matchup. Do you feel like that was really the main thought process for Team A with the Jax pick, or do you think that was more about comfort for Hoarder, and we're just mostly going to see like a skill test between these two players with these picks?
I think it ended up working out perfectly for Team A because they got to pick comfort with full knowledge. Because the Ambessa comes in because it's one of Crimson's best and it's probably the best blind that's up and available. And they also don't want to give it over to Hoarder. It's what they've performed very well on in the past. And Hoarder still got comfort able to see that. So they are going to go into this knowing I can play the Jax here, not only because it's my best, but because I'm confident in the matchup. And it will give them the chance to fully get their revenge from the last set. Because last Hoarder Crimson that we had here, it was Crimson going up 2-0, winning the Ambessa side of the Scion Ambessa, and then winning the Scion side, or winning the Scion side first, I should say. But then when it came into this game, this drafted game, I believe that it was Rumble. I'm not remembering exactly what Hoarder or what Crimson played, but it was something that was more bruiser oriented into the Rumble, and they were not able to come out on top. Hoarder was destroying them on the Rumble pick. So now we have Hoarder up 2-0. He wants to fully cement, like, no, we're whatever that record would be, 1-2. Now he's up, 3-2. He wants to put it 4-2 and really take off. No questions. This That's why we've been highlighting this matchup. But there is another matchup as we clear the Spectre delay, or continue to try and clear the Spectre delay. Kryra and Shimmer, former teammates on uh, Dark Zero, Dragon, Steel. Both of them were kind of jockeying for who is going to replace Yuji when Yuji gets called up. It turned out to be neither, because Kizno ended up getting that spot. But both of them were right there. And I believe Kryra ended up getting, a launch pad with Blue Otter. But as far as I know from the split 2 in NACL, Shimmer did not get that same opportunity. And, this tournament is so great because it is just about showcasing. Oh, Shimmer was on Vancouver Impact, who came in, they were a different team. They were Cupid, and then they got bought for the NACL split. But, this is about showcasing talent. And we're back to LCS. We're back to being our own region. We have the promotion angle, and it proved to not be as easy as people thought. People said all year that Disguised are done. They're out. It's a foregone conclusion. We shouldn't even consider them an LCS team. And they make a roster change or two. Rahel comes in, and also Dark Wings comes in, and NACL Classic comes in to a starting roster. They win the tournament pretty handedly, and not only does it show that these NACL teams are going to have to really fight to break into LCS, but it also shows that players are able to promote and get into LCS and play to win. So I think having these two young junglers, these two young top laners, these two young mid laners, and the bottom side of guys who've been grinding down here, still looking for their shot. That's why this path to pro is so important.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's in the name, right? Path to Pro. That's what these guys are looking to do. They are looking to prove themselves here, and see if they can get themselves an opportunity at the highest level of competition that we do have here in North America. So on to the Rift we go for our third game, the last game of this first set. We will, of course, have another set afterwards. So don't be closing out this tab even after this game number 3 is over, guys. There's more to come. But let's get through this one first. We do have a little bit of a move from Banana Pudding, we can see. Looking to get some information. The Pyke already Little invade there into the blue side jungle.
Yeah, and moving in here to our starting setup. Not as aggressive as last game, although we are going to see, as I said last game, info for no info. They know where the start of Xinjiao likely is going to be on this top side, but Skarner not been seen starting on that blue side buff. Pyke's gonna be careful going back to back to lane. Bard actually gonna give them the angle. I thought Manui was gonna stay up. Seeing these bot lane keystones of Hail of Blades versus Electrocute as compared to just like the basic melee v melee with maybe Unsealed Spellbook or just Aftershock. This is gonna be a lot of fighting early and often in this game.
Yeah, definitely these two supports should have the biggest impact on what we see in the early game. We'll see who is going to be able to unlock themselves first and go for those roams. It's both the Bard and the Pyke champions that excel at doing so. First binding, not going to land for Manui, but still a lot of damage coming out onto the Yunar. But mobility with the lethal tempo proc now, able to trade back a decent amount. Zig's getting some good trades off in mid as well.
That and also Zig's going in right now. I'm currently asking Prod for clarification as Hoarder's going in too.
Fine Mini gonna be chugging the potion underneath the tower, staying alive for now. Crimson, as you say, also taking a little bit of a beating, lost out on the level 2s. Jax was able to get to that breakpoint first. Wave gonna crash in the bot lane for Array and Manui. So they were able to get that initial push despite the decent trade back from mobility as, yeah, this Ziggs counter pick looking really nice there in the mid lane.
Yeah, and the reason that I was stammering a bit there, I was confirming with production, Shochi is back. So this is Toasty. We thank you very much for your sub in. You played excellent as always, but this is Shochi. I was confused by the Ziggs prio, and I didn't say anything because I was like, I don't know what they discussed in the draft or what they think changed maybe in the patch notes, but this is much more of a Shochi type champion, these artillery mages. This is a lot more their style, so I understand that pick a lot more. As you see, just I'm afraid almost even to speak because of how much there's just constantly fighting going on. Hoarder's looking for the kill here even.
Yeah, here comes Shimmer on the Skarner looking for that impact in the top lane. As we do take a look, Hoarder with a leap strike back towards the ward as the counter strike as well. Still going to get stunned into the wall. The Jax is going to be able to, does have to burn the flash in the end there. Was afraid that Crimson was going to be going for the flash dash to secure the kill, so Hoarder going to respect the possibility, burns the summoner to get away, so a nice early look from Shimmer towards that top lane. 5 Mini still just struggling to survive against the flash forward, the auto attack, and the turnaround. 5 Mini makes it happen, picks up the first blood on the Azira. Now the Xinjiao in the bot lane, get flipped back from the pipe of mobility, burns the flash early, and it's going to be the Xinjiao, gets that last hit, but the second turret shot does take down the Bard. Ends up being a 1-for-1, but it's a kill for the Xinjiao versus a kill for the Pyke. I think Team A very happy with that trade.
Yeah, they might have buffed the healing on those Caretaker Shrines, but not by that much, as the recall is canceled. That's going to be huge for tempo, because look over the wave. It's a terrible placement.
Banana Pudding still with the Ignite, actually, as well, on this Pyke. See if he can actually finish off Array. Looks like the Jhin will be able to walk it back off underneath the tower. Slow is Crimson in the top lane as well. Already burned the TP on that Ambessa. Now going to have to go for another recall. Hoarder looking to take over the lane early, potentially punish that blind Ambessa pick. And now here comes the Bard. Manui not going to find the Cosmic Binding, though. Nice sidestep from Shochi. Keeps himself alive.
And oh my god, look at this wave doing so well. Just denying so much CS, so much XP. Team A, really it's a tale of two sides to this map where the bottom lane has been denied quite a lot. Mobility, able to just come back to lane, completely push it in, back again. And now we're seeing Rovex open up onto the map, and Shimmer looking for another angle here.
Yeah, 5 Mini with the Shifting Sands to get away, and obviously Skarner only level 4. No access to the ultimate just yet, because you're going to be totally fine there. We do see the Bone Skewer land onto Manui, but the Bard was full HP, so he's not really too concerned about it. And the Zig's quite low on resources. Shochi going to struggle to really help out at the moment. as the Pike will be able to undertow his way back out. But yeah, Team A feels like they're winning every single lane so far. I mean, we saw the successful dive in bot, Hoarder winning out in the top lane, and the solo kill in mid as well. Team A off to a really nice start, and I think we did favor their scaling with these compositions as well, right?
Yeah, and because as soon as the Ziggs pushes forward onto Azir, you're winning because of your long range. So as soon as they end up taking a turret shot by accident, Azir goes in with the shifting sands, gets the shield even, and that's why they're able to pick up that very, very good kill for them to have. And that extra gold, they invested it, in my opinion, very correctly into boots rather than more damage, just so they can continue to avoid a lot of the CC as Shimmer's just throwing rocks.
Oh, flashing for the Q, and that's going to get the flash out of 5 Mini. Good reaction from the Azir. Good attempt from the Skarner. Definitely going to be happy trading flashes there with the mid laner.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a bit during the break about why these games are so exciting and when they go long, why it is so much fun to watch, because the mechanics at this level are so high. I mean, higher than even if you're watching, you know, uncapped leagues that we often run at these levels. These players are professional, and you know, I'll put my hand up and say I ain't making that reaction. That Skarner's getting me every time in that situation. But 5 Mini, I mean, you said it perfectly during the last game about this being a showcase, and I think of all of the incredible performances we've seen and the player of the games that we've given to, like, the player of the game we've given to Kryra and to Array, and then we've shouted out Hoarder as well. 5 Mini has shown me a lot today, and they had a shaky year because they started off on that Apex Mission Impossible roster that people didn't even expect to get in, and then they stayed in, which people didn't expect, but you know, didn't get to show too much on the roster throughout the course of the year, at least record-wise. But throughout this tournament, and especially in these games, I've been extremely impressed and looking forward to what we're going to see from 5 Mini, not only obviously throughout the course of this game, but also as we head into next year's amateur scene.
Absolutely. And this could be the mid laner's opportunity to pick up the POG on the Azir this time around. So far, so good anyways. Here comes the Skarner once again. Bone Skewer is going to land onto 5 Mini, but he shifts the sands, gets away from the stun. Another 3-man play for Team B in the mid lane, but once again, the Azir able to dodge away from it. Fyra, meanwhile, on the objective, has already secured the first grub. Already used the smite, though, so Shimmer could move over to contest, but Hoarder has the top prio. The rotation down from the Jax makes this a really difficult fight for Team B to try to take the Tempered Fate. Locks down the Ziggs, and the Impale does come out onto 2. Shimmer peeling for the mid laner very nicely. Mega Inferno Bomb does come out, but the sweep is also good from the Azir, but it's the Jax that gets taken down. The Ziggs traded back, and now Hoarder moving forward. Surely has another Counter-Strike available pretty soon. The slow from the Cosmic Bonding. There's the Counter-Strike from Hoarder, but he can't quite get the stun. And dashing back in is Crimson. He manages to punish the Jax, and now Minui, so deep, is surely going to get taken down here as well. There's the dash forward, the double kill for the Ambessa. A very close team fight, but it's Team B that managed to come out on top.
Yeah, the damage is just not equal on both sides. One of them, they both have their supports there, but one of them's a Bard and the other one's a Pike, able to put down way more damage. Bard just does not have the utility to equal out that damage disadvantage there. And Hoarder trying to get in, but when you're up against the Ambessa, that Counter-Strike really is just not as useful because you can't just avoid a lot of those autos. Kryra is able to take advantage of the fact that that fight went long and the tempo kind of got screwed up and get 2 of the 3 grubs as Yunara looking for a kill here.
Ooh, yeah, the all-in for mobility, looking for Array, who does have both summoners, still likely going to have to use both of them. The flash forward for the Yunara, and that is going to be the flash away for the Jhin. Good attempt for mobility, forces the all-in, trades up 1 in terms of the summoner spells. Now Crimson returning back to the top. Oh, the curtain call coming out, though. Minui on the punish. And that is the Yunara. Without the flash, obviously used it aggressively. Not going to be able to get away. And Minui, first to the play on the Bard, helps his AD carry to secure the kill. 4-4 now on the scoreboard.
That really is one of the biggest advantages, and the reason that you want to go a very aggressive support paired up with Jhin is because you have a fight that goes that way where it's, you know, slightly losing for Jhin, but they can just move all the way out and have your support pick up in that moment and use that curtain call to finish off the kill on the other side. big gold going into Bard's pocket. Obviously not as useful as they're going
Ooh.
on Ziggs now.
Ziggs in trouble. Teleport to the bot lane for the wave, and now has to flash out of the Tempered Fate, and now has nothing left to try to get away from Kryra. Beautiful setup again there from Manui, and the Xin Zhao there to lock down the kill. Banana Pudding just not ready for that follow-up play from the Bard, and now locked up by the Deadly Flourish. Another kill over to the Xin Zhao. 3-1 now, and Team A can look for the Dragon in the aftermath.
And with the only members of Team B in the area being Shimmer and Mobility, the Skarner Yunara at this point in the game just not going to be able to contest this Dragon, so going to go up 1-0 in that score. And, you know, I remember earlier this year, even midway through this year, so many people complaining about the jungle pool, saying, oh, it's a ton of different champions, but they're all the same play style, these 80 bruisers. I think it's the best jungle meta I've seen for a year ever, because when you have players like Kryra who are so mechanically gifted, they can just get so many cool plays off.
Order is just dead here, I think. Yeah. Really wanted to get that minion wave in, but it didn't work out.
Order is one of the most confident players I think I've ever seen at this level, and sometimes that does bite you in the back because he's just... It's almost like he DC'd. He was just like, I'm just going to keep hitting the minions. I don't really care. Yeah, I mean, he might have even just recognized, like, oh, I overstepped. I'm just dead. And just was like, well, I'm not going to kill him, so I might as well just farm. And does not have teleport, so the lane swap is going to have to be pulled here. Manui and Phi Mini are going to move up to the side, but Pyke is here ready to respond. Level advantage for Manui, though.
Yeah. A Bone Skewer onto the Bard, but now Manui moving in is going to get the cancel on the recall as Crimson, who has to flash away with the arrival of the Azir. The Ambessa realizing she was in danger, just immediately burns the Summoner, not going to risk it.
Yeah, didn't have enough energy to continue rolling away, but I did just look down and realize that Ambessa is 4-0. So as the Eclipse completed, this is a massive issue right now. Also Skarner with that Heart Steal. I mean, this is just becoming a bit dangerous. Obviously, the Ziggs, Yunara, your bot side of the map not going the way you would have liked, but top side going to have to carry as your Siegis Hoarder destroying a turret is going to mark first turret in the game into Hoarder's pocket. And this is why we talked about that comfort. Down in this matchup, but able to still be useful on the map.
No ultimate right now for the Ambessa. Hoarder's about to get his back, but now Pyke here as well. The Trinity Force is done for the Jax, but he's taking so much damage. The Eclipse, obviously, there for the Ambessa as well, and it will, in fact, be the Ignite of Banana Pudding to take the kill in the end. But now on the other side of the map, Manui finding the stun into the wall, and that is going to be Shochi punished as the knockup is there. The Crescent Guard, really nice, but the Impale on a 2 is also beautiful from Shimmer, and the rotation up from Mobility, able to pick up both of the kills, including a big old shutdown on the Xin Zhao Team B with an immediate punish.
Yeah, that's exactly what they needed right there, those kills, to go onto Mobility. We talked about it in the draft. When this guy is on 80 carries with agency, able to make so many plays, has the Kraken Slayer already. Now those 2 kills, gets back mid lane so quickly to start absorbing this gold, and Hoarder just TPs right off of his respawn.
Flashing in, gets the stun. Public Execution is there, but doesn't quite buffer through the CC. Crimson with the dashes, trying to outplay this one, is really strong on the Ambessa, but Hoarder undeterred, goes back in, needs one more Q. The Ambessa just has so many dashes, man, but the Deadly Flourish has to be sidestepped, and that's going to allow Hoarder to close the distance and secure the kill. 2 now for the Jax, and we are all tied up, Jack, 8-8.
I mean, just non-stop fighting, non-stop skirmishing from each side. This is going to come down. These games seem like they're out of control, but in reality, it's just everyone is looking for every single play that puts you in vulnerable positions, and what these games end up coming down to are the slightest differences in the itemization oftentimes. Who has the most gold rather than who's getting all these kills, who has the most time on the map is really what's important. And Array does have that Yumu, so more mobility against mobility, but does not have as much damage output at this point in the game as Jhin would if having gone something like a Collector. So having to wait just a little bit for them to be able to really put out a ton in these fights. Azir, on the other hand, has the Nashor's Tooth, really needs to get towards these next items to start that scaling, and then you can move off of needing Hoarder in a lot of these fights. Hoarder can focus mainly on being a side lane threat and continuing to get down these side turrets. I would like to actually see Porter, without the teleport, be on this top side, though, with the Rift Herald up and available because there is no outer turret on the bot side.
Yeah, very true. The Jack's kind of isolated in the bot lane at the moment. Enables Team B to go for this a really aggressive move into the enemy topside jungle. And should be a very comfortable objective take for them as well, as they are already burning down the Herald. At least Hoarder is going to be able to get that bot wave fully pushed out, and then will have a window of his own to try to make a play. Mega Inferno Bomb into the mid lane to try to clear out some of this wave, but doesn't get the cannon minion. And now Team A moving up towards this mid tier 1. If they can get this entire tower, then that's honestly a pretty even trade, I think, for the Rift Herald. You can see Hoarder doing a lot of work actually on that tier 2 in the bot lane as well. So honestly, decent cross mapping for Team A.
Yeah, very good in return for the Herald, as everyone is sprinting bot to try and take advantage of Hoarder's positioning, but he knows exactly what he's doing. He's got a Bard in his back pocket, knows that he's going to be safe to get out of there. And we look at these next builds.
Ooh,
Pike's in a really bad spot.
That's going to be Banana putting in so much trouble. Immediately gets destroyed by the Jax. In comes Shimmer, but not able to get Hoarder stunned into the wall. So Team A with a 5v4 right now. As Crimson dashing forward, going to get briefly locked up by the Deadly Flourish. Herald in mid for Team B to get some additional priority, and now it's the Xin Zhao in a lot of trouble. It's the Battle Herald as Shelly charges into the enemy jungler, and now Shimmer in a pretty good spot, looking for the stun. Can't quite get the Impale as the Bard journeys into the Dragon Pit to stay alive. Array trying to sidestep the Ziggs abilities, but gets hit by the Yunara W. Now flashing forward is Shoji, can't quite find the bouncing bomb. Meanwhile, Shelly doing some work, takes down that tier 1 in the bottom lane as the fight continues. Shimmer with the Heartsteel proc onto Manui, and the Pike over the wall, death from below, picks up the double kill immediately, but will be traded back as a nice shove from the Azir's. Hoarder finds the counter-strike on a 2, it needed one more auto attack, not quite able to take down Shoji. Very chaotic team fight on so many different fronts. Team B coming out ahead, though, I believe 4 for 3 overall.
Yeah, Team B getting just slightly the upper hand of that, also getting the turret to, or the Rift Herald to crash into one of the turrets. I'm not sure exactly where it ended up running. I think bot lane is where it went because it crashed in the jungle because that mid turret is still up. But the main difference ends up being actually the drafts, because Team A is all single target damage. And so when they go in these team fights, they're only able to focus their damage on one target. Whereas Team B has so much AoE. Even Skarner's all AoE, Bess is mostly AoE, Ziggs obviously, Aurora obviously, or Yunara obviously is what the champ was designed to do. And because of that, even though not a lot of people on Team A died initially, all of their health bars were so low that they couldn't keep fighting.
Now, Banana Pudding going to take the journey, immediately gets stunned up by the Cosmic Binding. The Azir damage sweeps in, a little bit of an overextension for Banana, and now Crimson has gone in with the Public Execution as well. Tries to use all those dashes to get away, but he had none left to dodge the Tempered Fate. It's going to be a stun on to 2 for Manui. Can't find the stun this time around, but dashing in is Kryra, and now the Deadly Flush. The Blast Cone going to get Shimmer just barely out to safety. Another magical journey, though. Flashing forward is the Bard, finds the stun, and there's the W from the Xin Zhao. Meanwhile, Hoarder has taken the bot tier 2. It's Team A winning out everywhere all at once. The Ziggs gonna get taken down as well. It's a double kill for Kryra in the topside team fight, and Team B just falling to pieces here in the mid game.
They'd say, I don't care who you draft, I don't care where you are in the map, I don't care how the last fight went, we're gonna hand check you and we're gonna be better. They just run at Rovex after they overextend and just start fighting them. And everywhere on the map, you see Team A win. They picked comfort, they picked scaling, and they're approaching that point in the game, whereas Team B picked pick, and now Pike in trouble again.
Caught out once again. Another kill for the Xin Zhao. I mean, we really have seen, I think, both sides of the Pike this game, but unfortunately for Rovex, it's another death at a really unopportune time. Multiple objectives available on the map, but Team A, only the 1 kill on the support. They're not going to feel bold enough to start up the Otacon. Go for some resets. The Xin Zhao had a lot of money to spend. He does now have his Black Cleaver done, and potentially now going to have a look towards the Dragon. But a lot of players congregating still on the top side of the map, as Hoarder pushed up pretty far, covered by the Azir.
Yeah, this is the moment where you realize that drafting these tanks in this current meta is really risky in the jungle, because Xin Zhao is super effective with very few items, whereas Skarner needs to start farming again to get the gold income to buy these tank items. But also, Skarner is so much of your CC because you don't have an engaged support, so
Oh,
you have to have
no.
Skarner fight.
Shochi just going to get jumped on and destroyed by Hoarder on his patented Jax. Just assassinates the enemy mid laner while the Otacon is being taken. Team A just getting everything right now, and Team B floundering. The stun interrupts the Skarners. He tries to get through the wall. It does find the Impale onto 2, but he has no teammates anywhere nearby to capitalize on that one. Yet another pick for Team A. Seems like they could just do no wrong right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're just playing mechanically so incredibly well, and the champions they selected, the ease of execution is there. All they have to do is fight front to back. They have so much pick potential.
Oh,
They
no.
have so much agency in the champions they selected. And even now,
All right.
they're going to try and find picks on the top side. It's just not there.
Yeah, teleport in for Shochi, but Team A have already disengaged. The public execution does come out. That's going to be Crimson able to find that onto Minui, but the Bard sidestepping beautifully, and now the Ambessa is so deep, is going to be able to back away. Team A not going to overchase for that kill. They know that the Dragon is still alive on the bottom side of the map, and that is going to be their next target. Array is going to have to try and get away from the Ambessa now as the Jhin isolated up towards the top side. Mega Inferno Bomb going to get the flash out from Array, but he's playing this out beautifully, kiting out Crimson's Ambessa, but he gets the dashes back off cooldown, and there's Rovex in with the Pike to secure the kill, but multiple members from TP on the top side means that nobody's able to help out their jungler as Hoarder jumps back over the wall, gonna get himself another kill. No, the Skarner, oh, he's gonna go underneath the turret for it. The Leap Strike is there. Hoarder on a killing spree. Meanwhile, 5 Mini gonna look to punish this Ambessa in the top lane, gets the kill underneath the inhibitor turret in the top lane. Surely this is too far for Team A as Shochi does manage to get a couple back, and the Dragon still alive, Jack.
That's all right. This is a showcase. We're having fun, and we're diving everywhere. And on the top side, too, 5 Mini able to pick up that kill onto Crimson eventually. That was a good pick onto Array. They are able to secure that as well. I think Pike ended up picking the kill credit up for that. And, you know, there's so much going on across the map. I have only, 2 big things I want to point out. First of all, you look at how much Array, or how much the entire Team A is doing damage-wise, and you look at the Jhin, they don't even have real items yet. Imagine how much damage this Jhin is going to be putting out in a second. Also, why does my Skarner have Steric's Gauge? Why does my Skarner have Steric's Gauge, second item? I don't know. I talked about how important it is for these tank junglers to get gold because they're so necessary in the team fights, that they have to skip camps so often. You see that gold generation lost, and when you have tank items, yes, they are cheaper, but that doesn't mean you can completely forego farming, and you see the farm kind of starting to go in the favor of Kryra, even though Kryra has been so present on the map. But then you go and you build something like Steric's Gauge, and I don't know, I'm not a jungle main. Maybe that's some secret tech I'm not aware of, but it is going to be, we have to focus on that. And I think the big things for Team B right now are making sure that Ziggs can get their abilities off before getting engaged on, and Yunara really has to get some more income. I like what they're doing, positioning Yunara in the mid lane to get as much gold as possible into this champion, because that's going to be their ticket to winning some of these team fights.
Yeah, I mean, Shochi was definitely getting really heavily focused by Team A for the majority of that early and mid game. So the fact that he was able to pick up those couple of kills on the overdive from Team A that we saw underneath that bot lane inhibitor turret, unironically really massive for the Ziggs. He's actually very close now to completing that third item. It's going to be a really big spike for the little explosive Yordle. And the Dragon stacking this game has been quite slow. As we see a Bone Skewer laying onto Hoarder, the stun going to come through as well. Skarner over the wall, gets another stun into the Impale, into the Ziggs ultimate. Wombo combo onto the Jax, and Hoarder is just going to get taken down. That is 3 kills consecutively now for Shochi Ziggs.
Yeah, that's big. I mean, it doesn't get you anything on the map right away, but that is going to get you some gold in your pocket when you're down 6k. That's pretty big. It kind of sucks that now there's an enormous amount that just went into Azir's pocket, but gonna get some damage on this turret, and Ziggs, unless they take 4 turret shots, maybe are gonna be able to take this turret down with that satchel charge passive. So strong, gets a ton of gold in their pocket. Should be the Leon freeze, but here's a Baron rush, and so much Baron damage with Azir.
They see 2 from Team B on the bottom side, at least. The Ambessa does have the teleport, but I don't think he's going to be here in time. It's going to be, although Kryra does go over the wall, they finish off the pike, but then Skarner now is in the pit. The Baron is so low, but a nice shuffle from the Azir to try to keep him out. Back in goes the Xin Zhao, secures the Baron with the smite, and now Mobility going to get taken down as well. A double kill over to Kryra, finds the knockup onto the Mbessa, who will get eliminated as well. The Ziggs, the only survivor for Team B, looked a little bit dangerous for a moment there as the Skarner did get into the pit, but Team A playing it out beautifully, and now they have such a monumental advantage in this game.
Yeah, Kryra gets 3 kills, gets the Baron, gets everything, and
Yeah.
also, as we pointed out in the last games, such a smart build. The Sundered Sky helps you in these team fights, getting that HP, the Black Cleaver, so good for your Jax, for your Jhin, and also allows you to get those stacks so quickly with that 3 Talon Strike. But then the Guardian Angel, it just makes it so impossible for them to ever really deal with you in extended team fights, because you can't focus down the 11-4 Xin Zhao when he's just going to come right back after we finally kill him. It's so difficult for them to formulate a plan on how they're going to deal with these members, especially when you've got Hoarder just AFK rage splitting your entire base down.
Yeah, I mean, you say rage splitting, but it's felt pretty deliberate to me. Hoarder has just been creating so much pressure there on the sidelines that it's going to be a tempered fate to keep the Azir alive. And now Minhui looking for the big play, flashing forward. Can't quite find the stun, though, with Cosmic Binding. Kryra going very deep, has the Guardian Angel, knows he can play this fight out so aggressively. He's going to get so much abilities out of Team B as they try to retreat back underneath their Nexus turrets as the base just getting disintegrated here for the side of Team B. 2 inhibitors already taken down. Baron still on for over a minute as Team A looking for the 3-0s. The Nexus turret's now under fire. Team B with the last-ditch defense, at least. The Cosmic Binding's on cooldown, but Hoarder jumping in with a counter-strike, gets the stun onto the Mbessa, who gets taken down. Kryra still with the GA. Rovex at least able to trade one back as they take down the Bard. Hoarder still flashing, finds the counter-strike stun onto 2. That's going to be the end of the Yunara, and 5 Mini gets in there for the big sweep to close the door on Team B. A double kill for Hoarder to round things out, and it's going to be a 28-minute win for Team A here in this third game. What an incredible day for the squad.
Yeah, 3-0 on the day. Incredible performances by each and every single member. And also just a lot to learn from, too. These were some excellent games for Team A because they weren't perfect. They had games that were stomps and really impressive. They had games where they kind of faltered but were able to come back. A ton to learn from. And in a showcase, those are really great games to have. And for Team B, want to acknowledge, obviously, reality. They picked a very risky comp. So it's not like this was not an outcome that was completely unpredictable. But there were moments where they had some light. It looked like they knew how they had to execute the composition, just weren't able to do it. And then on the flip side, when you pick champs like Azir, Jax, and you just scale to this point, of course they're going to be unstoppable. When you pick Xin Zhao and Bard and you have them coordinate so well, of course you're going to find all these picks. And I think Kryra, again, I'd give Kryra just absolutely unbelievable throughout this entire Path2Pro tournament.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think he has taken it away from 5 Mini, despite the fact that the Azir was 6-0 and 11 and did have some really nice ultimates that game. It really did feel like Kryra was the driving force on this Xin Zhao. I also think that Minhui had a pretty great game on the Bard. You know, another champion that is very difficult to play, but Minhui, I definitely felt like had the higher impact between the two supports in this game. You know, Rovex definitely had a couple of moments, but a couple of good moments where he was able to pick members out, but a couple of unfortunate moments as well where he overextended in some key situations. And I mean, really, it just felt like Team A was kind of outperforming across the board. Every single member on Team A was just had some highlight reel moments in this game, I think.
Yeah, and I think some of the most impressive things about this game for Team A, it isn't just the incredible performances from players like Horde or Kryra or 5 Mini who had these carry performances. And because I don't want to overshine players who are able to contribute to winning teams by doing their job. Players like Array, who was like, I'm Jin. I'm just here to land a couple autos, space, not get caught, and did that extremely well. And it's not a flashy KDA, but did their job to perfection in that game. And then champs like, or people like Manui, like you pointed out, where on the board, it's not going to be the flashiest score line, but consistently hitting tempered fates, hitting your stuns, magical journeying your teammates in and out of fights, always in the right place at the right time. So these players who are able to facilitate are able to be part of a winning team without needing to be the focal point or needing resources. That's another really important thing to show off in these showcases.
Absolutely, yeah, and just to come back to an earlier point as well, the coordination I feel like was so strong from Team A in this game. Particularly between that jungle support, Kryra and Manui. I love their game plan of trying to target the Ziggs in the early game. Shochi isn't warmed up, remember either. Just came in for this game number 3, and he's going against the B1 Azir that was taken for 5 mini, and being able to put the Ziggs down early and give 5 mini just so much space to work with in the side lanes. I feel like made the game really easy for Team A to play out down the stretch. And they just found so many amazing angles. Hoarder as well. You were just talking about how members not necessarily carrying the game, but doing their jobs, right? And Hoarder, I felt like walked that line really nicely. We're on a champion like Jax. Obviously when it's important, you want to be able to join up with the team for those team fights. But a really important element of playing Jax as well is knowing when you're going to have those opportunities to put on pressure in the side lane and create those other points of pressure for your team. And I felt like he walked the line really, really nicely in this game. So just strong performances across the board, but Kryra in particular, I think we're happy to highlight as being somebody who really just put in so much work and set the team up for success in this one.
Yeah, and I feel like Crimson and Shimmer were probably the brightest stars on Team B throughout the course of this series. Crimson playing well on both sides of that top lane matchup. And in this game on the Abessa, knew what they were doing, were able to find plays across the map. And Shimmer on both of those first games on the Pantheon, not really able to link up with the rest of their team and make that early pick comp work, but on the Jarvan seemed much more comfortable, knew exactly how they're going to play, recovered very well from early pressure applied, and showcased that they're extremely capable once they get out into these games. And I think if I had to say, like who I was most impressed with today, while they might not have, had been the absolute best performer coming into the day, my expectations, 5 Mini just blew me away. This guy played such an incredible series today.
Yeah, I think in particular, I mean, had all 3 of the games played well, I think, but in particular, games 1 and 3 on the Aurora and the Azir had a massive impact in all of those fights. Really chose some great moments to go in, and yeah, just did a ton of work in those situations. So I love the highlight towards the mid laner as well. You have any other final thoughts on this first set here, Jack, before we gear up for the second one?
I just think, we obviously this was an absolute banger of a first set. And in our next set that we have coming up, a lot of players who are still looking to establish themselves. We have players from the Polestar roster that played in Split 1. Asila is coming in. You got Decoy, Sajet. I mean, a lot of players still looking to establish themselves in contrast to these players who already kind of are rising names. So I think that that's almost more important to watch for these showcases where you're still looking to put your name on the map. So definitely make sure to stay tuned throughout this next break.
Absolutely. You are going to have a couple of casters who I feel like are already pretty established. We'll have Isaac and Toki for that second set. So, like Jack said, make sure you stick around, guys. We'll have some more NA amateur gameplay coming your way as we gear up for the last week of the Path2Pro event. That's it from myself and Jack for now. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll be back with that second set in just a little bit.
To hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the follow, we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding. Only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? in countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of a world that we defy. A solar ray of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light. Can we bring to fall the giants? 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 We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of a world that we defy. A solar ray of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the
Keep moving on. Keep moving on. And they say I have a grim sense of humor.